hold the floor.
Well, that's fine.
So I
That's fine.
apologize in advance if I do. You just reach over and hit me or something. And,
I'm gonna go ahead and. Okay.
okay, I'll see. I don't even see you in there. I gotta get you in the picture, but I see you.
He's leaning it that way.
And you can scan it up here closer if you need to, that way you can.
Okay, well, I think I'm pretty loud anyway. I'm getting hard of hearing.
How do you spell your last name, buddy?
Hillin. And hey, I appreciate y'all letting Alicia on here. And
Absolutely.
I appreciate y'all letting me on here.
I told them
I'm
we're
throwing that out there.
very
right now.
thankful.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
This is good
And
opportunity.
if you
for
want
us.
to, if you want to go ahead, go over to Not on the Payroll, you can actually copy that link or share it. Just click that share. Let's see here. And then you send it out to all your Facebook people. We still got about 5 minutes, so we're not stressing.
Okay.
But ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, like, share, and subscribe. We will appreciate it. We do appreciate it. Appreciate everybody's efforts. Everybody's efforts. Let's see here. Yeah, and you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. This is just so we know what's going on. So it's at this point we try not to curse.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
doesn't remind me that they don't have
sometimes-
bleepers.
Yeah, there's a couple of words you really can't say, so be kind of careful about it, even
Your
if you get work
grandmother,
up.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
My wife.
Oh, yeah.
We're not worried about that. We're worried about the FCC.
Yeah,
The FCC.
they'll jump on too.
Grandma
Grandma just tell
Grandma,
we don't want
Grandma,
to come take
Grandma
some
will
cash.
love us afterwards. The FCC, that's another story.
We don't want to get y'all in trouble. Y'all
No,
are
it's all good.
y'all are our avenue right now, so we don't want to get y'all in trouble.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Go ahead and- let's see. Okay. Oh my God. Some of this music. Wears me out.
Oh, come on. You told me you liked it. Tell me you put it on at the house and danced to it.
That's only a couple of times. All right, let's see here. So I have decided that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, like, share, and subscribe. Please share.
You're gonna be
We definitely would like to
I'm just
get as many people on here as possible.
You got stuff.
Joseph, hello. What's going on, man? Yeah, we've got Alicia Davis and we've got Mr. Mike Hillen in-house, and we are fixing to get rocking. I am,
If for some reason or other you can't hear all of us at once, or you can't hear certain, let us know.
yeah, let us know.
Let us know, and we'll make adjustments so you can hear them.
You should be able to hear us.
Yeah, you should be, but
let us know.
You never know.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So first thing we're going to ask you guys, are y'all Democrats or Republicans? No. Boy. Oh, buddy. No, I'm not. I'm not either.
I was
Although
fixing to say, I
he's
don't
wearing
know
one
if
of them
either's
Lamar.
good right now.
He's wearing one of them Lamar MAGA hats.
Harvard on the natures.
Harvard.
Harvard on the natures, man.
That would bring on a whole different
Whole different
context
conversation.
because
You know,
I'm against both of them.
Yeah, you and me both.
Because when I see Republicans that do,
I don't
What
trust
they do.
either one of them.
I'm gonna
I don't
slide
like
your
either
Sonic
one.
cup over here because they don't sponsor the show.
I'm kind of mad at Sonic. You thinking by now Sonic would have
Well,
stepped up and
I'm on.
as much Sonic as we drink around here.
I know. It's bad deal. Let's see here. Let me get this.
look, maybe only these JCAT board people get perks around here.
Huh?
You know, y'all might not get a Sonic perk.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I got my Sonic perk. I gave my $2.59 and they gave me a drink. That was my perk.
You got what you paid for.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Like, share, and subscribe. If you know anything about Alicia Davis or Mr. Mike Hillen, let us know.
Well, we may not
We got-
want to know that.
we
No,
got- We got,
let's don't go there. There'll be people calling in on us.
here we go.
KJAS Jasper, also KFAH Pineland. This is paid for programming which may not represent the views and beliefs of this station,
Normally
its
don't.
management, and staff.
Normally don't
Listen
represent this
at
station.
your own risk.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me. Just on the tax man. Yeah, tax man.
You are listening to Not on the Payroll right here at KJAS 107.3 FM. Man, I hope your night's going good. It's about to get better. It's going down again. Back by popular demand. We've got a couple of guests in the house with us tonight. But we want to, first of all, we want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank our sponsors. It is might be one of those nights for cigar and whiskey. So, how are you, sir?
Time for me to start drinking? Is that what you're telling me?
It might just be. Might just be. I'm your host, Jay Sharp, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Carrie the Gov Teach Thomas. I think that's isn't that
Sure, close enough.
Go
sure,
teach.
sure. That's what I go for on my blog. Yeah,
on your
sure.
blog.
Yeah,
Hey,
on the blog.
if you want an entertaining blog that doesn't mind beating up on some of the ISDs, hey, go ahead and go over to Carrie Thomas's blog.
And I'm working on
Gov
one
Teach.
as we speak.
Are you really?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Well, there you go. How was your week, man?
It was busy.
Busy.
Busy, man. I had to go.
Busy
I had to go up to North Texas to the farm and take a look at that, and came back and running and gunning, and it's 350 degrees. And
So is that farm part of the kickbacks that the government teachers get?
sure. You believe that, don't you?
Is that actually a part of the kickback program?
Sure,
Or
it's
the retirement program.
It's part of the retirement
There you
program
go.
from TRS. Sure,
Yeah,
you believe that, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody will believe that.
Yeah, no, they absolutely will. When you say is it the ranch or what?
The farm.
The farm.
The
Okay,
farm.
so
Yeah, because it actually at one time was a cotton farm.
it was a cotton farm.
Yeah, back.
So-
back.
Are we talking 5,000 acres, 10,000 acres, or less?
No, we're talking about 150.
Hey, it's farm enough,
Yeah,
right? Farm enough for
Yeah.
what you need a farm,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, more than what I need to farm.
Yeah. Hey, well, I mean, with a vegetarian family, I mean,
Sure, the vegan family.
vegan
Vegans,
family, you
yeah,
better
don't
be
need
growing some
anything
green
else.
beans or something. You better get down with something. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in, you can check us out on Facebook, check us out on YouTube. You can check us out here each and every Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Go over to notonthepayroll.com and check out some of our interviews. We got a new interview up with Sheriff Burby over in Newton County. I want to try to get on the hook with Sheriff Mitchell Newman here in Jasper County. I'll be honest with you, the more I'm around Sheriff Burby, the more I like him. And maybe you will too. He's got some cool things that he's doing in the community. And it really seems to have a heart for the community, so that's cool.
He seems to be a likable guy.
Absolutely. And he's a horse guy, so I mean,
Oh,
that's
really?
that's even another feather there, as far as I'm concerned. I want to tell you about our sponsors, because if it wasn't for our sponsors, you wouldn't be hearing our lovely voices, and if it wasn't
Absolutely.
for our sponsors, you wouldn't see our lovely faces on YouTube.
Absolutely.
What does that mean? We're actually on YouTube. You can go over there right now. You can go check us out on our Facebook. We actually posted the link a little bit ago, but you can see who's all sitting in the room with us. And as we kind of launch this thing off, but we want to thank our sponsors. First sponsor on the list, a definite supporter of the First and Second Amendment, is Stuart Glass.
Stuart Glass.
Stuart Glass has been with us for years. Matter of fact, they were
They
with
were
us in the-
original, back in the original incarnation.
in the original incarnation of this whole program, and they came back with us, and they are helping. And they're helping a lot of people around the area as far as their glass for their homes, for his auto. If you have a business here locally and you're needing some glass, you're needing some replacement, something like that. I mean, who knows what your need is as far as glass is concerned, but you definitely need to contact those guys and have them take care of that hole that you just threw a cat through the window or a dog or whatever you threw through
your
the
wife,
window.
once again, your wife
Could've-
got mad at you and kicked the front windshield out.
Could've
You
been-
never know.
Could have been all that. So, I mean, here's the deal. If you are married to a Southeast Texas lady like I am, and she's throwing you through a wall or a window or something like that, like I have been, no, that's
I'd
not
have paid
true.
money to see that.
That's actually not true.
Good money.
Now, she has made me flinch a few times. I have broke a few things, but other than that, Stewart Glass can hook you up for your home, your auto, and your business. Also want to talk to you about Lakes Area Pond. Lakes Area Pond. Hopefully, everything is back to normal. If you're looking for a weapon, if you're looking for an instrument, if you are looking for, I don't know, you might be one of those people out there that's been looking for a jackalope your whole life. You might be able to find it at Lakes Area Pond.
Yeah, they got a little everything there.
Hey, you might even find a coonskin hat in there.
And it's
Who
getting
knows?
close to the end of the month, man. You might need to visit them to
That's
get
exactly,
a little.
them bills paid.
Yeah.
Don't steal nothing from people.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Some of you folks go out there and you start stealing stuff and think that the cops ain't gonna find you down there at the pawn shop. Guess what?
They will.
They got serial numbers on that stuff you're stealing, man. So stay away from the thievery. And you thieves out there who broke in here a while back, shame on you,
No
bunch
fooling.
of jerks.
No fooling.
I don't expect you to listen to this show because we're good, God-fearing people here. And we're trying to do good in our community. But we want to thank Lakes Area for sponsoring this show and sponsoring us and our Second Amendment approach to life in the fast lane.
No fooling. As I've said, I'm carrying a gun now.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the other couple of sponsors we've got, one sponsor specifically, we have the Auto Salon for all of your auto needs. Get out there and get those guys checked out. If you need your vehicle polished inside and out, they are the guys to do it. Give them a call. Hook up with them right here in town, right here close to Houston Street. Matter of fact, I'll have an address on them here next week. But here's the thing, man. Go down there. If you got a big vehicle like I do that does a lot of work and gets dirty and filthy and nasty, take it down there to them. Auto Salon can hook you up. And they can also take care of any small vehicles that you got as well.
Also, they have an inspection place, and it's getting closer to the end of the month.
Inspection?
Yeah.
Inspection and...
You got a
and,
6 on that number, it's time to take
change
it in.
that oil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you can get that oil changed too. So,
And get it inspected while you're there.
They got a lot of things going. Our newest sponsor, we appreciate them. They're actually coming on in July. But we want to give them a shout out is Hollis Tire. If you're looking for the best tires in town, you need to look no further than Hollis Tire. They've got you hooked up with the best brands in town. And when I say best, I'm talking they've got all kinds of brands, but they've got Cooper. That's who they represent.
Well, I'll tell you what,
And
I've
you can't
got a
beat 'em.
guy near to my heart that's all he'll run on his vehicle is
You
Cooper
can't-
tires.
You can't beat them. You can't beat them. So here's the thing. If you're out there and you're a business and you're interested in sponsoring what we do, and what is it that we do on Thursday nights? We do religion and politics like you've never heard it before. Sometimes we agree. Most of the time, we're just kind of discombobulated.
Yeah, we
we
are
work through the
pretty
process and get through the
discombobulated.
hour. That's pretty much all we do.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Hey, without further ado, if you're out there and you're listening on YouTube, if you would, go over, like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to us. We're trying to get up to, I think it's supposed to be like a
1,000, isn't
like
it?
1,000, like
yeah.
1,000 subscribers. Our listening hours, there's a whole bunch of crap that we're supposed to be doing for YouTube, and I don't know what all it is. But the more subscribers we have, the better it's going to be in the long run because we're going to actually be able to do some cool stuff. As far as video, as far as different things, as far as bringing in guests and that type of thing. So here's the deal. Go over there, like, share, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook and or if you're on the radio, go over to YouTube and subscribe for us. We really appreciate that. Appreciate all of our listeners. We try not to throw you under the bus unless you deserve it. And so having said that, without further ado, we want to jump right into EliminatePropertyTax.com. Now, tell me this, and I'm going to start with Mr. Hillen. But I want to welcome you both to the show. Appreciate you guys taking time out of y'all's schedule to sit down with us and to discuss the vast topic of eliminating property tax. because this is not something you guys just came up with here in the last couple of weeks once you received your appraisals. You guys have been in this battle for a while. Mr. Hillen, tell us a little bit about your story, who you are, where you come from, and that type of thing.
Well, I'm Mike Hillen. I live in Buna.
Okay.
He taught my kids.
Well, there you go.
You know, I'm a Buna guy. You know.
They're heck of a kid. They're heck of a kids. As a matter of fact, Kendall was the district spelling champion.
Absolutely.
Wow.
District spelling champion. As a matter of fact, she was a heck of a softball pitcher.
There you go.
And she used to sit on the bench in between the innings and study her spelling words for district.
Yes.
You can't make this up.
Studious.
You
I'm
cannot
telling you.
make this
Hey,
up.
that's good. That's good.
Sorry, didn't mean to throw you
No,
off.
but instead of me prepping for this, me and
Yeah.
him was talking about school day.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
But anyway, I kind of got involved several years ago. My dad was on the appraisal review board at one time,
Okay.
and he started letting me know what really went on up here. So
Really?
I came to a few meetings, and now this was somewhere between 10, 15 years ago,
Okay.
and watched board members sit up there and sleep and nod, and when they needed to vote on something, they'd look at the chief appraiser,
Okay.
who's the original chief appraiser, who's
Okay.
gone now,
Okay.
to see how they were supposed to vote.
Okay.
My dad eventually either got threw out of that group or left that group because he was not happy with what went on.
Right.
That's the original thing got me involved. I started getting involved with Mr. James White, my good state representative. I was never on Facebook until he asked me. He said, "Get on Facebook so me and you can keep up."
There you go.
So there was my start. You asked for my start. That was my start. He came to the house, met with us about property taxes, and a lot of this stuff that Alicia's talking about, I started doing several years ago.
Right.
She's done so much more than I ever did, but I got my feet wet right there.
Okay.
I got in with a guy named Russell Bennett, who founded the original Eliminate Property Tax Facebook group.
Okay.
He lives in Houston. He used to be an old country boy raised on a dairy, and he's a city boy now.
Okay.
But he is our voice, one of our huge big voice for Eliminate Property Tax.
Okay.
I started my own group, subgroup out of his, Eliminate Property Tax Jasper County.
Okay.
We've got some Eliminate Property Tax Denton County, Eliminate Property Tax El Paso, various ones. But,
Right.
you know,
How many in total? Do you know how many
our
counties in total will have a eliminate property taxes?
we don't have, but probably about 25 county groups.
Okay.
I've encouraged people in Newton County and Hardin County that I work with, hey, start your group, because if I did it, anybody can do it.
Right.
Right.
I'm not an internet guy. I'm not a Facebook guy.
Sure.
Right.
But I had a lot of help. Kendall helped me some. My daughter-in-law helped me some. Thank you,
Sure.
Jamie. But anyway, we got to the point where, like used to, me and Hubie and her agreed, we used to live in a trailer house. Our taxes were cheap. We didn't care about our taxes. They were cheap. We both built nice houses, and now we wish we lived in the trailer house again.
Okay.
Right.
Because it's just overwhelming. And
Well, not now,
And you can't.
because
Well,
they went way up now.
exactly. They're even hammering on trailer houses now. But it just developed over time into what can I do? And I tried what she's doing. I wasn't very successful at it. She's a lot better. And I said, I'm going to start working at the top. And I got with James White. I formed my own group. I started more or less being an activist with
Okay.
the other group.
Yeah.
And that's what our group is. Basically, we're nonpartisan activists. We got a group of people. Nobody gets paid. They travel around the state of Texas, talking to state reps, senators, anybody that'll listen. We've got members. We got members who are county judges in
Right.
our group.
Okay.
Not ours yet, but I'm going to work on it.
Sure.
Could you explain to them how that works, what they want to do, how the property tax eliminated and works? It's not another tax.
No.
Yeah.
I'll get on to it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'll just get right on to it.
Okay.
What we propose is to replace property tax completely. Don't phase it out slowly. That won't work. Completely with a consumption tax, which is a little bit different than a sales tax,
Right.
but for all practical purposes, really close to the same.
Okay.
So several years ago, there was a rep named Lavender.
Mhm.
He's retired now. He put forth a bill. It was HB 3742. That was in the 83rd legislature, so it's 83R if you try to look it up.
Okay.
It was a 225-page bill, more or less written by a guy named Rick Cunningham that I've met, who is a money man genius. He crafted that bill with Mr. Lavender, and then he helped James White craft his bill. James White's bill was basically the same bill, but about 20 pages, maybe 12 pages.
Okay.
So the Lavender bill was a lot more detailed in how they were going to do stuff, not just do it, but how they were going
Sure.
to do it.
Right.
So how we're going to do it is we're going to eliminate property tax, sales tax, franchise tax, alcohol tax, which is 5 taxes, by the way.
Right.
Almost, there's so many hidden taxes. I mean, I got a list of taxes.
Sure.
I'm going to try to not even go by
Yeah.
my notes. I'm going to
Yeah.
just shoot from the hip. 60 plus taxes.
Okay.
We're going to get rid of them. We're going to replace them with a 7% consumption tax. That's not 7 on top of what you already have.
Right.
That's doing away with what you already have and making it 7%.
Just a flat 7.
Flat 7.
Would this 7% include food and drugs?
Will not
You know,
include.
I know the sales tax presently does not include food
Yes,
and
sir.
drugs.
Good question. I'm glad you asked. It's in my notes. Won't include food. Won't include medicine, over-the-counter or prescription. Won't include any deemed necessary items. Won't include transportation. A lot of older people, they might need to pay somebody to take them to see the doctor. That kind of stuff's not going to be taxed. I've got a pretty good list of quite a few things. Medical devices, services, utilities, transportation services will not be taxed.
Now, not to cut you off, but what exactly will be taxed?
The same things that are taxed now as a sales tax
Okay.
will be taxed now.
The same exact items.
Yes, sir. Now, the state comptroller will be tasked with deciding some things like there's a lot of people that get some exemptions.
Sure.
I get some exemptions
Right.
because I'm a farmer. I run cows.
Right.
Right.
There's things I get legitimate exemptions for.
Right.
We don't have a list of every single infinite item. A lot of that stuff will have to be decided by the state comptroller's office.
Okay.
So there will be some things that will be broadened. Now, there will also be included, and I probably ought not even say it, but I try to be as open as I can, because when you say VAT tax, some people just get them all tied up in a knot.
Okay.
But my understanding of a VAT tax, it's a value-added tax. I'm sure this guy here knows way more about it than I do.
Okay.
But there's some people that say that's a regressive tax. We don't feel like it's a regressive tax. It's first of all, raw materials like logs and stuff, that won't be taxed. But stuff gets taxed along the way.
Right.
You know, if when it goes from one, say, manufacturer, he's going to get taxed.
Mm-hmm.
So what it really does, and my way of thinking, is there's a tax trail at that point.
Right.
So these big companies can't hide and get away with not paying taxes like they do now. I mean, if you look, what's regressive is you look at the poor people and the middle class people who have to pay their taxes because they don't have a lawyer on hand to get them out of paying taxes.
Right.
A lot of that stuff will go away because it'll be clear. They won't be able to do a lot of the things that they do now. And in the end, the consumer pays all the tax.
Okay.
And it's no difference with property tax.
So let me ask you this then. So, do you feel like it is? Do you feel like it is wrong for a business to employ a lawyer specifically to help them abide by the current tax laws in order to pay the least amount of tax they should,
Well,
according to the law? Because
I wouldn't. I guess the way I'd answer is I wouldn't say that I think it was wrong. Now,
do you use a CPA?
I use a tax, yes, sir.
Use
I
tax
use somebody
person.
that helps me do my taxes.
So in the long run,
So I guess it's the same thing.
It's a little bit on the same. I mean, and here's the deal, man. I mean, for us to sit here and act like all of these businesses are above board doing this is kind of a because you know as well as I do. There's a lot of businesses out there. A lot of them know how to play the game. A lot of them know how to not pay their whole, people are hired and put on staff so that their whole objective is to figure out what loopholes, where can we station this money so we don't have to pay taxes. So I'm not saying that there's not businesses out there, but I was just wanting to get to the bottom of whether or not you felt like it was wrong for a company to actually approach it that way by employing a lawyer.
I think as long as they're going by the laws,
tax codes
and everything, I don't blame them for doing what they can get.
Sure.
My particular CPA was honest with me from day one, and, and basically he said, "Don't lie to me.
Right.
You don't try to cheat,
Sure.
because I don't do that."
Right.
So, and that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
So if a company, and I work for a big company, and her husband works for a good company, we made our living off of a big company.
Right.
And let's just take them for an example. They've been run through the ringer before over property taxes.
Right.
I want them to pay their property taxes.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to pay an unfair amount of property taxes.
Right.
It's bad business.
Okay.
For one thing. And they have been put in that situation before, and that's one of the things that got me involved
I got you.
in this game here.
So this new property tax as such, or new value-added tax, I'm going to call it that because it's kind of that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, value-added tax, it will eliminate things such as tax abatement, correct? Or would there be some form of a tax abatement for these new companies coming
There
in?
again,
Or is this something that the comptroller needs to
that's
look
going
at?
to be a comptroller question, to be honest. I'm not going to try to act like I know all of this because it is so
there's a lot
so
to it.
thick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from what Nancy Pelosi said, they needed to pass the bill so they could actually figure out what was in it.
Well, we won't. First of all, my main objective, and a lot of us, our main objective is we want to own our property
Right.
without conditions.
Okay.
I paid for it.
Right.
I worked it. I cleared it. I built the fence. All of this. Once I pay for it, I want it to be mine, and I don't want nobody to be able to take it.
Right.
So
Well, sounds fair enough.
I keep this in my office, and a lot of my books and paraphernalia. Nothing is ours that another may deprive us of.
Yeah.
Right.
That's Thomas Jefferson right there. I'm
Yeah.
a fan of Thomas Jefferson,
Sure.
and we can be deprived of our property.
Yeah, sure.
And
Absolutely.
There are people think, it rarely happens. It happens more than you think.
Yeah.
And when you see, like me and Alicia have been at the appraisal district
Right.
and seen old people come in there, old people that shouldn't have to be dealing with this. None of us should.
Right.
I'd rather be watching the sun go down over the backs of my cows than doing this.
Right.
Y'all are great guys, but
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
You
understand.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I
but
brought
ev-
up the other day to the commissioner's court when I was there. I said there should be somebody from every taxing unit up here and JCAD helping these older folks with their protest, helping everybody else that doesn't understand how to do this, watching them cry because they're doing this.
Absolutely.
They need to be up there. Somebody from every taxing unit.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, then you're basically saying that the current administration at JCAD is not helping the elderly.
I wouldn't say all of them, but there's a lot that's they're not helpful. They're yeah, they're not helpful at all. And there's, matter of fact, when I was in there, when I was turning in my stuff, when I was waiting, and there's a little older lady in there, and her husband had passed away, and she was crying. She didn't know what to do because he handled all that, and
Sure.
of course her, her exemptions had went away, and they couldn't explain it. She didn't know why.
Yeah.
And your heart goes out for them because there they are. They're
Right.
dealing with all that. They shouldn't have to be dealing
Sure.
with that. I mean,
Right.
she's
Yeah.
been in that
to
house
be
her whole
honest,
life. I mean,
To be honest with you, that's where I can actually get on eliminating property tax right on day one, is 65 and older.
Here, here.
I'll be honest with you. I think
Here.
there is no reason for 65 and over to have to pay property tax, period.
Again, here,
And-
here.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
so to me, and if you're 65 and over, you're probably not going to be voting on bond measures for these schools. So let the 65 and younger pay for it.
Yeah.
I say
you
if you
know what I
vote
mean?
on that bond, you need to be paying for that
I
bond.
agree.
Don't make us
Yeah.
all pay for it.
Well, the unfortunate part is that's the
Yeah.
catch-22 of democracy.
Right?
Yeah.
Is because at the end of the day, it's just like that bond they had down there in Kirbyville years ago. That we had
Yeah.
some level
Yeah.
of influence on it initially, and then when we left, they ran the bond
He
again
ran it through.
and passed it.
They did it in Buna too.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep doing it
So
because
you're going to get me and Mr. Thomas
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, don't get us started
Off
here.
over here on
Well,
this
but
bond.
the thing is
The
this.
Buna bond that's being proposed right now.
Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
the deal is this, a lot of this, and we discussed this, I think, last week. This boils down to, this whole thing boils down to, especially on these bonds, boils down to a generation of parents who have refused for years to tell their kids no.
Amen.
There is a, this blew me away. This blew me away. I go up to look at a project for the company that I'm affiliated with. And the project is to put a fence around a football field.
This a high school football field?
High school football
Okay.
field, climate control football field.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Time
There's
out
no
here.
Time
out here.
There's no dome over it.
We got 'em
But
sacked.
it's climate.
Climate control.
How,
Now,
how
the
are they
thing-
doing this?
The thing is this. Here's the
With
deal. I don't know
property
how.
taxes.
I don't know how it all works.
Is it in Texas or?
But it was to me. Yes, it's in Texas. It's
Yeah,
it's
it
within
has to
driving
be.
distance
Has to
of
be.
here.
Has
okay?
to be. Yeah.
Guess what? Never produced a football player. Okay. I'm
Is it-
not saying high school. They
Can-
never
can-
produced a pro. Here's the point.
Can I say 3A, 4A, 5A? Do you know?
Little. That's
Really?
all I can say.
Really?
Probably taking on Evadale. Climate control.
Double A.
No.
Double A.
You see what I'm saying? So here's the
Holy
thing.
cow.
Here's the deal. But what a lot of people don't understand is this.
Holy
Those bonds are directly related to the taxes we pay in the long run. The biggest check you're going to cut on your taxes is the school.
Absolutely.
It's a school district. Yeah.
It's school district.
Yeah.
And then so this thing, it's not just a one size fits all argument. It's a mushroom cloud. Because to me, I think you could take the disabled, I think you could take the 65 plus, and I think there's even a good argument, at least I'll pose this, a good argument for military vets not to have to pay property tax
I don't
anymore.
have a problem with that either.
And
Listen,
some don't, like a disabled
some don't.
Yeah,
military
disabled
Some
vet.
don't.
Disabled
Some
vets
don't.
don't.
My
Yeah.
neighbor, he pays zero, and I'm glad.
And
I'm
that's-
glad he pays zero.
and-
'cause he-
See,
What
but to
better way
me,
to thank you for your service?
Yeah,
If
well,
you don't pay-
that is no
you know what I
joke.
mean, really.
And so to me, I think this is a mushroom cloud of a topic, obviously, but
Yes.
to me, I think there are some things that each generation is responsible to do. We all talk about these raising up the next generation of kids and next generation of leaders, but nobody wants to talk about the ones who's already plowed the field for us for years. You know what I'm saying?
And speaking of plowing the field, you got these old people.
Right?
And if you did it that way, if you just said, okay, over 65 you don't pay, but they're still going to put a value on your house.
Sure.
And they're really going to jack it up like crazy because you're not fighting it, right?
Okay.
You got these old people.
Right.
He's got acres and acres and acres of ranch,
Right.
farm,
Sure.
that he's owned his whole life.
Right.
And in their case,
Yeah.
owned it for generations.
Sure.
And they do this to this some extent now. Now, I know a rancher, full-time rancher, they doubled his this year, and he's 74 years old.
Right.
It's a myth that stuff's froze. It's a trick on words. It's not really froze. But here's what they
Well,
do.
the taxes froze. It's the appraisals that's not.
Yeah.
Correct?
No, it's not.
Is it?
That's not 100% correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's partly correct. But
Yeah.
but the point I want to make, and then Alicia will get over on
Okay.
that topic, is they can jack that evaluation up to where it's stupid.
Right.
And the old people may not fight it. But then they leave it to their kid.
Yeah.
The family farm.
Sure.
What's the kid got to do?
Yeah.
He's got to sell it. He can't pay that enormous. That's the way it works. They run that value up,
Right.
and then your heir gets it. And your heir has got to pay. He don't get
So
this.
let me. Okay. So not trying to stop, not
No,
trying to
go ahead.
cut you off, but I'm just once again, I'm just a hillbilly out here trying
are
to make
too.
it. But I guess my question would be, so how do those rates go up? Like you're saying, the appraisal rates go up. How does that end up going up? What's the mechanism that makes that go up? Do we know?
That's an awesome question that we basically get a really cloudy, muddy answer to.
Okay.
I think they just throw it up against the wall because why does somebody's go up
Right.
and somebody else over here don't?
Okay, now from what I understand, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong because you guys are way more astute on this than I am, but from what I understand, there's obviously differing is it classes of real estate? It's kind of like the difference in driving a Ford F-250 or F-450 or whatever versus driving a compact, that type of thing. It's that type of a deal. And some of those, it's like this. If you're driving a 450, you're getting pulled over by DOT if you don't have DOT tags, right? As opposed to my wife's little whatever that Japanese thing is that she drives. She's not she's been pulled over quite a bit here lately. But here's the thing: different classes, from what I'm understanding, different classes of property. Because like my little half acre where we live is obviously going to be a single family dwelling versus an income bearing property versus like apartment complex. I guess that would kind of fall under income bearing as well. We got a call?
We got a caller.
Hang on, hold tight, guys. Hold tight. I'm trying to
Hang on.
Try to get our caller in here. Sorry about that, guys. We got all caught up in the muck and the mire here. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. How come it seems like that property taxes and everything's going up since Democrats have been in office?
Well, I think that's a good place to start.
Well, the question is this: who runs this county?
I hope Republicans.
Exactly, and it's still going up.
Still going up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy, man. Everything goes up and everything goes down. Hell, Joe Biden can't even ride a bicycle.
I was waiting for that to come out.
Peace out.
All right, buddy. Appreciate your call. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, give us a call if you want to chime in. But let's go ahead and dig into some of the stuff because we had you on last time, Alicia, and I appreciate you coming in again. But you had some things there that you wanted to kind of address, and maybe some things I fumbled the ball on a little bit, and neither here nor there. I mean, I know you guys have been talking about protesting the appraisals.
Right?
Just kind of start us out, and I think it may be a good place to start for everybody because there may be people out there who's sitting here going, okay, I got this in. Now what I do with it? You know what I mean?
I can't tell you how many people have messaged and called and texted to help them because they're just confused. You know, for one, our JCAD does not have a website that's helpful at all. It's very, very limited compared to others. And if you go to a different CAD, there's a lot of good information on some of those. And they'll even have diagrams to help you fill out this paperwork, which is great.
Okay.
Great because it'll help you, not because we have to do it. Because, it's sad that we have to go in there and haggle with them like a bunch of crooked used car dealers, which is basically what we're having to do, on our property. And it's
so
not right.
you haven't found this local appraisal district to be helpful at all?
Not to me. There's now. Let me take that back. There's a couple employees in there that have been helpful.
Okay.
Overall, no.
Okay.
I would say it's like 98% no.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's
And I'm just being honest.
I wanted to say something about what she said a while ago about the old people coming in.
right.
I actually witnessed several years ago. Remember, we went to the James White Cowboy Church deal. He told
Yeah.
everybody, he said,
Yeah.
go protest your taxes. Y'all remember when he come to Cowboy Church?
Okay.
How many years ago?
2016.
So while I was up there protesting mine, I tried to talk to an appraiser
Right.
and see if we could work it out.
Sure.
That particular time, we couldn't. But while I was there, an old man come in, 80-something years old, didn't know nothing about protesting. All he knew was James White told him to protest.
Yeah.
He came up there, nice old man, quiet, frail, old. And the person that told him this doesn't work there anymore. But that old man was told, I can go up on your taxes, but I can't go down on them. And that old man gathered up his little tax deal and shuffled out the door. And now that person don't work there anymore. I immediately called James White
Sure.
about that.
Yeah.
Maybe part of the reason why they don't work there no
Yeah,
more.
hope
Maybe.
so.
But I'm going to say kind of what she said. Not everybody that works
Yeah.
at that appraisal district is bad people.
Okay.
We're not saying that.
Okay.
There's
Do
good
you-
in people everywhere, and there's some good people there.
Do you
But
feel
there's
like this is more of a systemic situation than it is an individual situation?
I do,
Okay.
and I feel like it's not just Jasper County.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
Right.
It's we feel like we're the worst, probably of the worst.
Okay.
But there's other people feel the same way. Denton County,
Yeah.
uh,
I imagine they feel pretty rough
they're
too.
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
they're
Denton
under
County.
investigation right now.
Yeah, Denton
Yeah.
County is growing like crazy too.
Montgomery
so I'm
County
wondering, as is Montgomery
is
County.
under
yeah.
investigation.
Yeah.
The average property tax in Leander, which is close to
Austin.
my
Right.
cousin Herbert,
Yeah.
remember him?
Yeah.
The average is over $14,000 a year.
Okay.
Good
And that's the
grief.
average. Yep.
Wow.
Holy cow.
So jumping back over to this
Okay.
protesting and the appraisal,
Mm-hmm.
how do you go about that?
Well, after you do all your paperwork, you send that back to them. We had to do all that by the, remember, 13th, 14th anyway. And you ask for your evidence packet. Well, they're supposed to provide you that 14 days before your protest. Well, I haven't got mine. Maybe there's my son or my mom or my
Me
sister.
neither.
I've had a lot of people say, well, we haven't got ours. And they're already calling. And then there's people that have been posting stuff that was new property owners, for instance. And it's happened with my son, too. Well, they'll, not only when you buy it, they'll send out this sales survey, and they're asking a whole bunch of personal questions there about how you paid for it, what you paid for it, and this and that. And, Texas is a non-disclosure state. It
Sure.
ain't none of their business.
Well,
you
and
don't have
that-
to tell them.
Right, you don't have to
that-
tell them that.
But
no.
that survey is volunteer, correct?
Yes, but nowhere on that does it say it's
But you-
optional
yeah.
or voluntary.
Yeah.
The way they're doing it is so misleading. It's just deceitful is what
Okay.
it is. And then on top of that, right now during the protest things, when they're doing that, they're sending out the email and it's asking for their closing statement
Okay.
or what they paid for their house so they can determine their value. Well, they're not saying you don't have to tell me this, but would you tell me this?
Right.
It's the way that they're wording it and the way that they're
Okay.
doing it. They're being sneaky.
So
And
right now we still don't know how they're coming up with the values.
no, there's no rhyme or reason. There's no method to the madness whatsoever to it. Matter of fact, when I was at that JCAD board meeting, one of the board members there was talking about his properties. He has a stack of properties. He's a real estate man here. And he was trying to have her explain to him how she came up with her values on one of his properties. And they sat there, I don't know how long, and I know she explained it to him at least 5 times. And he never did understand how she came up with her figures or her values.
Now you're saying
this is
she, who you refer to?
Oh, the chief.
The chief.
This is a businessman that has been on that board, on both sides of the board, on our or a board member for years and years and years, and he couldn't figure that out. And that says a heck of a lot right there,
Okay.
you know. And then, you know, she's saying that the chief is saying they have to, their methods have to be, you know, from the comptroller and the this standard, that standard, and this ratio deal or whatever. And
So it's complicated.
it's complicated, but there again too, a lot of that is it's kind of misleading because there's not any kind of specific formulas.
No rhyme or
There's
reason.
there's nothing.
So can you explain the Buna factor to them?
Well,
Because
I tried to find that out because, you know, I'm sure, I don't know if you know that, but when you're looking at your property tax bill, if you're in Buna, there's a Buna ISD market adjustment.
Okay.
Well, you know, Buna's not incorporated, so
Right.
they got to
Right.
try to get that extra revenue from somewhere.
Right.
And so I was trying to get this information, so I called the Property Tax Assistance Division there in Austin and talked to them. It's all right, for about an hour on all this. And I asked what that was for and what authority she had to do that. And there's nothing in the tax code for that. There's nothing in there for that. And that was all she could tell me on that. So I don't know.
Is that within Buna ISD
That's
or
just-
just within the
That's just
what you would say the city of Buna?
it's the Buna ISD
Buna ISD.
Everything within the school district.
market adjustment. It's 10%
Yeah.
added to your evaluation.
Your evaluation.
And-
Now,
I
the only
agree.
explanation I've ever got out of them is that it's the same old story. Man, everybody wants to live in Buna.
But that's
Buna's hot. Buna's growing. So we, just to stay up, they say, this was my explanation from them, we got to go ahead 10% just to try to stay up with what's going on.
No.
Is that an adjustment?
Buna's not growing. It
Is-
hadn't been growing for since I can remember.
Is that an appraisal?
That,
That's-
I don't know what that is.
That's unconstitutional, and that's probably illegal right
But you
there
know,
because you can't
Buna's
do
not
that.
growing at all.
No.
That's
None.
I agree.
Well, I'd be interested to find out what the details are on that. That's a interesting.
That is
Well,
interesting.
that's not 100% of market value. That's
If
over market value.
if you find out, let us know because we can't
Yeah.
find out.
Well,
Yeah.
and here's what I will say: I have made a valiant effort to get the chief in. From what I'm understanding, there's got to be a conversation with the board, and then at that point, maybe we set up a time for her to come in and do an interview. I hope that's the case because I think this, on all this stuff, there's two sides to every story,
Right.
right? Yeah, so
I agree.
I'll say this because I try to be fair about everything. The last time I went and protested, the chief treated me a whole lot better than the review board did. I promise you. The chief tried to help me a little bit.
Right.
Not close to what I thought was fair.
sure,
But the board, no, just nothing. Just
board's a different conversation.
your time's up, Mr. Hillen, and
Yeah,
bam.
yeah,
So I will say that.
yeah.
That
Okay.
was-
Well, I mean, it is our goal to have her come in and sit down with us because, I mean, honestly, man, this is a question that a lot of people have. I
Yeah.
mean, this is definitely a hot topic right now. And, we want to make sure and give both sides opportunity to communicate. And, because there was a rumor going around that, we were all in cahoots together. And I was like, well, yeah,
That's the second time I met you.
I don't like property taxes. But I mean, I think it's about as far as I know.
Yeah.
Unless
But-
you're making money off of property
Yeah.
taxes, you
Yeah.
don't like property
Yeah, I don't-
taxes.
So what was the next? You had some other things. Now you went to a commissioners court meeting here recently, right?
I've been to two.
Okay.
Were you at the one this week?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
What
sir.
happened at that one?
How were you
Because
received?
it was on the KJAS's website, the story. So what happened?
Well, this one went a little better than the first one, I think, maybe. This one this week was basically stemming off of the one the week prior, and their health insurance premiums going up just like everybody else's is, and it strikes a nerve with them whenever you start bringing up budgets and cutting them back and tax rates and all that kind of good stuff. Well, it's fighting words, basically. And anyway,
So you feel like they didn't receive what you had to say?
yeah, I feel like we're second fiddle to the employees of not just the county, but to every taxing entity. It's like their wants and needs and benefits comes before the taxpayer who's funding all that. You know,
How much do you know how much there? Because I knew the big the big problem was the health insurance increase. How much did it go up? Do you know? Do you remember?
I think they said, but I don't remember. I think the year before it had went up maybe 12% or 9%. It's one or the other on both of those.
And the county was covering that, the 9 or 10 or 12% increase. Yes, for the employee.
I'm now.
The reason why I ask this is, once again, I spent my entire career working for a government entity, and normally when our insurance went up, whatever it was, we had to foot it.
Right.
We had to foot it one way or the other. Yeah. If
Well,
it went up
we're fitting
10%, we paid the 10%.
Yeah, that's not
So
really how that's going.
They're
And I say this because when we're looking at the budget that's online, obviously it must be different than the one that they have, because I talked to Commissioner Martindale about that in particular, because my husband was doing some figuring, and he said, by the way this is looking on their end, they're only having to pay about 1.15% of their premium, and we foot the rest of that. And like at the paper mill, everybody's is different, which I'm sure theirs probably is too. It's at least 25% that we're, paying. So
you just call it for more equality as far as that goes.
right,
Yeah.
But that's in addition to all the other fringe benefits too. It's not just that. They just keep creeping up and creeping up and creeping up, and it's gotten out of hand, and nobody ever has, I guess, said anything to them about it or brought it
And when you say fringe
up,
benefits, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, a fringe benefit's anything other than your salary.
Okay.
And
Well, there's a lot
I'm talking about,
there's a lot of companies who do that
there's
though.
16
Not
paid
like
holidays.
You've
Like what?
never heard of some of this stuff, probably.
Okay, we'll get to it.
Well, you
Okay,
have
The longevity pay. They don't want to call it a bonus. It's
Okay.
a bonus.
Okay.
It's based on years of service, so some of them are small,
Right.
and some of them are in excess of $10,000 a year.
Right.
Good grief.
I can tell you, there's one county commissioner I know what it is. It's $12,000.
Okay.
But it goes by
How long you been?
Years of service.
So
Goes by years of service.
tenure.
Did he work for the county before he was elected to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's got a lot of years of
Okay.
service.
Okay.
Because I was going to say, how long has he been a commissioner?
I mean,
Yeah.
Jasper County's got some
Right.
good long-time employees.
Sure.
But that's a little excessive.
Okay.
They've got y'all do the legwork for yourself. They got a pretty doggone good 401k plan.
Well, sure.
And we're not against
Right.
people having good benefits.
Yeah.
Not.
Right.
But there is, when the taxpayers is toting it on their back.
Right.
And I want to say there's something about the insurance premiums, and she may know something. They were doing something different, and I don't have the information.
Right.
And I haven't verified the information, but I heard from law enforcement.
Okay.
They're doing something different with the law enforcement guys' insurance.
Yeah. There's a bunch of talk about that.
And if we want anybody to have good insurance,
Sure.
in this
You want
county,
the sheriff's deputies?
Yeah.
Well, and
I want our
Let's-
law enforcement.
All right,
That's
let's
what I was saying. And then,
Let's jump over to
it's,
this caller right fast.
Okay.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I agree with everything. Y'all talking about these property taxes and stuff, but let's talk about these gas prices.
Talking about the gas prices, man. We can't do nothing with that.
No, we
we
can't
trying
do nothing
we
about
trying to
that.
deal we trying to deal with the taxes right now, man. I know these gas prices are killing everybody.
We can't pay property taxes and gas prices at the same time. They got to pick and choose.
Hey, all I can say is this, man. There's one guy who needs to learn how to ride a bicycle. That's at the helm of this thing.
I thought about getting a horse, but hell, I got to feed him too.
If we,
Hey, man, we appreciate your call.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man.
by the way, our plan to eliminate property tax does away with the Texas fuel tax too.
Okay.
So there's you, what, 18 cents?
Yeah, it's 18.
Okay.
Well, it's 18 for federal, and I think it's 20
See,
for
I
state.
guess my question
Something,
is
or
this.
22,
My question
I
is
can't
this:
remember.
not to get chase a rabbit trail, but how just from a standpoint of the amount you're cutting out versus that 7%. Well, how many percentage points are we looking at over here that'll go away, vanish, replaced by the 7%? Do you have that number?
No, but
Okay.
what that is that's a Rick Cunningham, the guy that done the bill. He's the guy that understands all the zeros.
Okay.
You know, the 84 billions and
Sure.
You know, it's all in his bill.
Okay.
And
I think that'd be a good number to know, don't you think?
it's yes, and it is on our website.
Okay.
But I can't just throw
No,
numbers
that's
at
fine.
you,
That's good.
and I'm not going to.
That's good.
Unless I can get it down to the decimal point. I'm not going to let.
But we
somebody
can go to
over the wrong.
eliminatepropertytax.com.
Yes, you can read all about that
Okay.
on eliminateproperty.com
Okay.
and how they're going to do the money.
Okay.
How they're going to do one of James White's when we were squeezing him
Right.
to put a bill forward.
Right.
He said, "What are you going to do about bonds?
Yeah.
Bond issues."
Yeah.
I thought, man, he's got us on this one.
Yeah.
Good question. Rick Cunningham, the guy that wrote the bill,
Right.
he just goes, look on page XXX. You know, you extrapolate this and you do all this. You know, he's an
Right.
economist. So
Sure.
he's-
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm over here going. So-
Let me say this.
Yeah.
I want to say too that when I was talking about the benefits, I'm not expecting none or
Exactly.
to not have any.
Sure.
It's just right now with the way everything is for everybody, we're all having to sit down and do our budgets
Sure.
and clean it up and see what we can shave off
Right.
and
Right.
stuff like that. And there's just so much there that could, but it's like right now you don't want to talk about it.
I got you.
And I pick on them because I don't pay city taxes, so I'm not up there at City Hall talking to any of them right now. The county is the main
Right.
governor body of the board, and so that's what I'm talking about. But and another thing is increasing the pay for the deputies because I don't think it's right in any way whatsoever to have an assistant or a secretary make as much or more than a deputy. Whenever they strap that gear on and get out there and die for somebody, then they can convince me otherwise.
All right, but let me ask you this though: in the world of trying to look at this thing from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Say you have a person who's working for the county, been working there for 10, 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a certain amount of income coming in off of that, who just so happens to answer the phones, do paperwork, or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
is, and that point that individual's at 10 to 15 years or whatever, and then you have a newcomer who comes in who's going to be strapped up out on the street.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see where that
I do,
kind of.
But I don't think an assistant should make $32,000 a year and a deputy make $32,000 a year.
But what if
There's no
one's been there?
comparison.
What if one's been there for a while and has had to work up to that
Well-
point, and then the deputy who walked in on day one's getting
Mm-hmm.
$32,000?
Well, I think the deputy
That's
needs
my
to be
question.
started at more. If they're going to have their
Well, once
secretaries
again, it
make
goes back
that-
to budgets, right?
Right, that's
Yeah.
exactly right there. Because just because our appraisals are this high doesn't mean we have to have a tax bill that high.
Okay.
It's all in their
Exactly,
hands.
Exactly.
Once
It's all
they
in
set-
whose hands?
It's in each taxing entity's hands. So
Okay.
once they set their tax rate,
Right.
that's when we get our tax bill.
Okay.
So they have the power, all the power. They can't blame that on anybody else. They can't point that finger at anybody else.
But legally, isn't the tax? Now I'm asking this because I don't know. Is the tax directly associated with that appraisal value? What I'm saying is, if they come out and they appraise my home,
Yeah.
and they appraise that home for $100,000,
Uh-huh.
does that tax amount that I end up having to pay associated directly with that appraisal?
The appraisal is that driving engine
Okay.
behind that tax. Once you get that
So
tax
so
rate,
that's really the question: is
Yeah.
how do we get to the
your
appraisal?
tax rate is zero right now, even though you got that
You got
appraisal.
somebody on?
It's the appraisal times the rate, and that's your
Okay.
tax.
All right, go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. I called earlier. If somebody can understand, how come people 65 years and older and people like me on disability that's proved they can't work no more, how come they still got to pay land tax?
Man, hey,
Good question.
hey, I'll be honest with you, man.
Important thing, school tax.
I know, man.
In school, and you have to pay school tax. That's not right. That's not fair.
I agree.
You got a kid in school. Why don't you have to pay school tax? Well, and like I just said, I've worked all my life, got proved I can't work no more, and they still want me to pay taxes.
I understand. Hey, man, we appreciate that phone call. Here's the deal. We're on your side. If you hold tight, we'll cancel all the taxes before long.
Yeah.
Hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I want you to listen up, ladies and gentlemen. If you're out there, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you're out there listening on the terrestrial radio, here's what we're going to do. As soon as this goes off at 8 o'clock, we're going to keep going because there's more information here to share. So if you want to know what's happening, if you want to get involved, if you want to call in, that type of thing, we're going to stay here. We're going to actually go off the air on the radio, but you'll be able to pick us up over at YouTube. You can go to notonthepayroll.com. You can check us out there and access us at our Facebook page as well because there's more information we got to cover here.
Oh, there's
And
tons.
honest to God, I don't even know if 2 hours is going to cover it, but we're going to try. So here's the thing. If you're out there and you are just tuning in, you're listening to Not on the Payroll. We're here with you every Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Right now in-house we have Miss Alicia Davis and we have Mr. Mike Hillen, both with Eliminate Property Tax here in the Jasper County area. Has been a riveting conversation thus far. Tune in to the next hour. We will not be on KJAS the next hour. We will just be on YouTube. So go over to YouTube and check us out over there. If you're not a friend of us on Facebook and we've upset you or made you cry or made you go and seek sensitivity training on our behalf,
Like me.
then what I would ask you, or if you're the devil, or something along those lines, or maybe you've been called the devil. Yeah, I mean, because sometimes you never know. I mean, you got to meet them.
Been calling us the devil. What are you
Well,
talking
I know.
about?
So here's the deal. Go over to Facebook. You can check us out there and actually get to the link. But we're actually going to close this out here in just a minute.
On KJAS.
On KJAS. And so here's the thing, man. I don't care what side of this table you sit on, the Eliminate Property Tax side, or if you're one of those people who just enjoy writing that check each and every year. To be honest with you, if you do enjoy writing that check, then I would really like you to shoot me an email. And
Call us and talk to us why you enjoy writing the check.
Well, we can actually put you in touch with some folks up in Rusk who might be able to help you out. But here's the thing. There's a lot of questions. And it seems like everything is fueled by these appraisals. And if you're out there to protest, now let's get that in right here before we finish up. To protest. Now, do you call down there to the JCAD
Well,
and they send you out
that
something?
time it's already expired. You had to have your paperwork in.
Okay, so you can't
14th.
protest at this point.
Too late.
Yeah, you have to
Too
have your
late.
stuff in. So now we're just
Too late,
waiting.
ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, too late.
Just
You cannot
waiting on our
protest.
appointments now.
Hey,
They've already got you.
technically you can
scheduled.
always call them. I'm sorry. You can always call them. You can always go up there and talk to them. They can say it's too late to protest,
Sure.
but who knows? You might get a nice person up there
Hey,
who will talk
Who knows?
to you.
Yeah.
you know what?
Go
I mean,
talk to them.
won't hurt.
absolutely. And
Yeah,
here's
won't
our,
hurt.
Worst thing they do is no.
That's right.
Here's
That's
the
right.
other deal. Here's the other part of this thing. As much as some people would like to turn this into a tit for tat amongst people, I'll be honest with you. Of all the jobs that I would never want to have, it would be tax appraisal district.
Me neither.
I wouldn't want to work there. I just wouldn't want to work there. And I mean, especially during what they call protest season, I can imagine things get a little wild and hairy. But when you go down there to talk to them, go down there sensibly. Man, we can
Absolutely.
talk this stuff out. And if we can't find the answer, then maybe we can all hug, we can hold hands, and we can pray about it and see if Jesus shows up and gives us the answer.
There you
Because
go.
in the long run, Jesus is all we need, isn't it?
I think so.
Jesus
great.
and
Sure.
less property taxes.
Sure.
Ain't that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly.
Amen.
Sure.
See, Jesus is against property tax. Ladies and gentlemen,
Fixing to have
ladies
revival
and
here.
gentlemen,
Fixing to have revival
where is
here.
the plate?
Preach.
Here's the deal, man. Here's the thing. Go down there sensibly. Don't get all sideways
Absolutely.
and twist it off, because they're people who's got to feed their kids just like y'all are. And, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, all we can all do is the best we can. And the best thing to do is to be civil. Be civil. Lean into civility. And go down there and state your case. If you can't get any help, there are other avenues. All you got to do is find them. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Not on the Payroll right here at KJAS 107.3 FM. If you want to tune in for the second hour, go over to YouTube or Facebook. Just look up Not on the Payroll. You'll find us. And go from there. But I want to leave you with this one last point. All we need in the long run is to eliminate property tax and find Jesus Christ. So if you haven't found Jesus Christ lately, go to your local go to your local church and see if he's down there. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, you know we love you. It is Not on the Payroll each and every Thursday night, 7 o'clock. We appreciate you, our sponsors, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Tune in every Thursday night, 7 o'clock.
We still love you, Bina.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. And Magnolia Springs.
Active radio program devoted to
All right, guys. We're fixing to let our hair down. Pull out the whiskey, pull out the beer. Let's see what happens
We
here.
can use bad words.
There you go. Well, we can use bad. Hey, make sure these mics are off. No. Here's the deal. Here's the thing, because here's what's going to happen. We've got 23 people watching right now, and we've got people saying, hey, man, there's XD Hot Chip. I know that guy. Dash 23.
Do you really?
That's my son. Yeah, Joker. Haven't said that. We're going to hang in here just a little bit. Matter of fact, we're going to pull these. We're going to pull these and unplug these. That way, in case somebody forgot inside the
Yeah, we're
building.
gonna go through that.
You gonna leave that? Just leave that on the front. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, let's get on into it, because I'll be honest with you, we had a lot of people dig in on this show last time. A lot of people, and so let's cut to the chase. Let's talk about comps. Okay, let's talk about the comparables, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the comparables is what the appraisal district has to go off of.
Right, that evidence packet I was talking about earlier, that's what's in that.
Okay.
That's what this is right here.
It's your comps, okay?
Now,
So
this
is
is
this
from,
yours?
This is from 2020 when I did mine. Like
Okay.
whenever you're looking at somebody, say I look at Mike's property taxes and I'm trying to compare them, and
And you can actually do that on their website.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything
Yeah.
is public information, so y'all can look at whatever. But if I pull his up and it's the exact same for 2 years in a row,
Yeah.
well, that's because he protested it, and
Okay.
they're not supposed to be able to raise it up that next year without clear and convincing
Evidence.
of why.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that's. But this year that didn't really work out like that. Whenever
Okay.
you talk to a lot of people, theirs went up so much. But this is what their comps look like that they sent me back in 2020 when I did mine.
Okay.
And your neighborhood is supposed to be right there by you, where you live. I'm way out in BFE in Magnolia Springs, so
Right.
whenever I was getting my information together and my comps and everything, well, I was looking right there on 1005. I had everything around me. I had all the tracts of land right there beside me, and I had them down to what it was per acre and da-da-da. Well, to my surprise, these comps that they had, some of these are 20 miles away from me.
Okay.
And what's funny, and I'm going to go ahead and say this because I talked to him about it the other day at the meeting, is one of my comps is with Commissioner Martindale. Well, Commissioner Martindale lives at Beach Grove, I think it is. It's like 18 miles
That's
from
a long ways
That's
from
a long, long
Right.
way from me.
Springs,
But
yeah.
if you're running comps, all right, so correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know much about real estate, but I do know this much. When you're running comps, normally, what you're trying to go off of, from what I understand, is like myself. I've got a single family dwelling. It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. So that right there, and then it has a certain square footage, right?
Right.
And those things are where they're looking at far as the comps. Is that correct? So,
Right.
like, say if I have 10,000 acres, then they have to look at something with something equivalent to 10,000 acres that's been on the market recently. Is that right?
Yeah, whenever
Is
you're
that
looking
kinda
at
how it's
their
supposed to be?
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Theoretically, okay.
When you're looking at their information, like if I'm looking at Mike's, well, I'm gonna want to look at his land. Well, you're gonna pay attention to his exemptions because that might not be for you and all that kind of stuff. You know, you got to take into account for all that.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna compare square foot to square foot on the house.
Right.
That kind of deal. When it was built,
Right.
all that good stuff. And part of that, and the way you do that is, you got to know what they're going by.
Yeah.
You know, and
What
so
do you mean by that?
as far as what they're doing for their pricing on square foot.
Well, right now, square footage, I mean, I can tell you right now,
Yeah,
it's not cheap.
this is
No,
what they
not
sent
right
me
now.
back
Comparing what it costs to build a brand new house
in 20.
compared to our houses that's 20 years old.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And see,
Well,
when,
you have depreciation and all
when
that
it, when
factors,
it
I
hits
would
20,
imagine.
This
you
is
get
how
a
she
good
sent it to me.
depreciation. When it
Yeah.
hits 20,
And this is
but
all
the
her writing. This is what
depreciation
she
is
sent.
not more than the increase, I
Yeah,
promise you.
exactly.
Okay, so if we're looking at this, right here, now this is your
Yeah.
property.
This is
Well, do
this
the
right
same thing in
here
Orange
is.
County and
When I asked for the evidence packet,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know their cost estimate. You know
How
their-
they figured it.
Right. Well, this is their square footage right here, what they're going
Right.
by, and this was the range, and she circled that because of my house.
Right, because yours falls between the 2,200 and the
Right.
2,400, okay?
And she says right here the prices are derived from sales of similar property, so that's
Mm-hmm.
how they get those. So air conditioning adds $2 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
That was in 2020. I don't know what it is now because, like I said, I requested my stuff and I still haven't gotten it yet. And whenever I got that email last night, she said maybe a month. So
Okay.
I guess maybe I'll.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see how that
So,
goes.
so this right here is a part of the comps for your house, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we're looking at this, can you explain to me some of what I'm looking at here? So basically, this is subject is your house, correct?
right.
Okay. And then local comparable, comp 5, is about 40,000. Is that a 40?
What the
About
way this
$40,000
works
cheaper?
is they're going to go through there and they're going to cherry pick a price that's going to be close to what
Close to
they
what?
have your market value as.
Okay.
And that's how it's going to work. Otherwise, why they'd went 20 miles from me? Why not compare it to
Well,
the land
okay.
right there in
All
my
right.
house
But
or
let me
the
ask you
sales
this.
in my area? Mm-hmm.
Okay, but let me ask you this though. So how many rough properties that are like yours, because you have real estate, right? Or you have land.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How many properties like you are comparable around you for sale at the time what they do with this?
Well,
Because
not
I mean,
all
like
these are for
whenever I
sale,
go to
though.
buy a house, I'm pulling local comps.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna buy a house down on his street, I'm gonna look at what's actually on the market at that moment, right?
Now, her
But this-
homestead,
This doesn't all have to come from, like, these houses weren't for sale. This is somebody's house. Just
So
the
this is-
information they're putting in their
Okay.
mass appraisals thing is ratios and
So then
sales
it has
prices.
okay. So then it has nothing to do with what's actually
Yeah.
currently on the market.
Right.
This has
So
to
they
do
could
with
have easily
Okay.
It's supposed
compared
to
my
be-
house to.
it's supposed to be
60 out
sales
there.
prices. But you know, we're rural, so
Sure.
I mean, you know, you got to.
well. Plus,
know.
you got an inflated market right now.
Yeah.
But
You got a
know,
huge inflated
I
market
want
right
to
now.
comment on what you're saying about her acreage and you know her land and
Right.
stuff there. But generally, you're going to have your house,
Right.
and you're going to have a half acre, 3/4 of an acre. Mine is like 0.7 on my house and my homestead.
Right.
And then you got your land.
Yeah.
So that's kind of going to be two different things. They're going to have your house
Okay.
and your yard, and then they're going to have your acreage
And I think-
on separate.
But I think you can. Is it like on Homestead? Correct me if I'm wrong. But on Homestead, I think what is it, 10 to 20 acres that you can actually declare as your yard.
It is something
It's like 20 acres, I
I
think
don't
it
know
is.
what the max is.
I think it's like 20.
it's only like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not-
because you could claim it. Like, say, if you had 50 acres, you could claim 20 of that plus your house, and that be your homestead.
Right.
Right.
And
But
then
it's
you've only
still-
got 30. You got 30 acres.
Yeah,
Extra.
it's still not going to be to your advantage because your land right around your house is
Right.
probably going to be valued more than your pasture land or your grazing land or your ag land or your timber land.
Sure.
Because you get the exemption.
Right.
So
But
you'll-
some people don't, though.
But
That's
some
what he's
people
getting
don't.
at.
Right.
But if you get your house, say at 3/4 of an acre,
Yeah.
and then you get your 10 or 15 acres or 100, whatever it might be,
Sure.
with a grazing exemption or a timber exemption
Right.
or something like that, then that saves you some money on your land.
Okay.
The 40 is for your homestead,
Right. Okay.
which every time they've done this before, this ain't the first time,
Right.
they're prepared for it. And
Yeah.
when we get that increased homestead exemption, bam, go the
Yeah, goes back
appraisals.
to-
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
So
what they
tell
call
me what you got
the
there.
appraisal card, your field
Okay.
card or whatever. That's what this is. And I've sent this to several people because they have no idea. They don't know what it is. You know, it's a sketch of your house. And, excuse me, they can't put the sketch of your house online is why this is not online for
Okay.
privacy reasons,
Sure,
is what
sure.
they say. Now, there's other websites that you can get this off of very easily. It's a tax website. And anyway, what you need to do is go through there and measure your house and make sure their measurements are right with
Are
yours
lined up with
because
yours, yeah.
ours weren't.
Okay.
And
The last time they actually measured my house, 3, maybe 4 years ago, isn't this ironic? They mismeasured my house by 400 square foot. They mismeasured my barn by 400 square foot, and they mismeasured my shop by 400 foot. All 3 of them. Now, the chief appraiser, when I brought that to their attention with my drawings and my measurements, the board didn't want to help me,
Right.
but she
Chief.
did. She said, "I'll take care of that right now," and
Yeah.
she did.
Right.
and that's
That's good.
So you do, like Alicia's saying,
Yeah.
double check their figures.
Yeah.
They may not be measuring, for whatever reason, they may not be measuring it correctly. I'm not saying they do it on purpose.
Sure.
I'm just saying, hey, mistakes happen.
Right.
It's your money.
Yeah. You've got to.
Yeah.
You've got to be
You
on
gotta-
top of your
you
business.
know.
and this will be included in that packet too. And what
Okay.
that is that's like a screenshot of like a map that you're going to bring up on there
Okay.
off their website.
Yeah.
This is my land right here,
Okay.
and you can click on everybody's parcels around that.
Right.
And most of this is family land, so you know I know what theirs is valued at. But I went through there, and everybody on the CA Horn abstract, I pulled them up. I went through there and I got them down to the acre, down to the T. Well, that should be my area right there. Well, it wasn't. They didn't go by not one property in Magnolia Springs. They went by properties
Other properties.
in Jasper.
Okay.
Part of that, what I requested from the chief was that information. Why? Because in the reappraisal plan, the way it's reading, how I'm understanding it, is she is basing our neighborhood off the entire
Like a region or something.
ISD jurisdiction. I'm in
Okay.
Jasper School District because I'm right on the line.
Gotcha.
So she is comparing my home to all the ones sold in the entire Jasper ISD district.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big,
big
difference
district.
rather than
Yeah,
just
it's a-
my little area right here.
Right.
So that's kind of the way she's doing that, which she said that there would be, you know, she would go through there and do little things, adjust and all that. But
So you feel like the best way to do this is to actually go in and look at each one of these
Yes.
properties that are comparable to yours.
exactly.
And to be honest with you, it only looks like there's maybe only 1 or 2 that's comparable. Maybe this one and this one here, these here, may be comparable.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and on down the road, you know, there were some, and then on this county road out here, there's some.
Sure. But I would
And-
also think it would have to be what's on the market for fair market value because that's where your appraisals are coming from. Am I right?
Yeah,
Could
the
be.
sales prices.
So I mean,
now.
you wouldn't be if these sold 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
If it was 2 years ago, if they sold in the last 2 years, then it's accessible.
Yeah.
Accessible.
But
Well,
there was
you know,
sold
that-
properties down there too.
as
They
a-
just didn't use them.
I got you.
We got to try to go by their rules and
Sure.
and go by the way they do it. But you know, as an eliminate property tax guy, I don't care if you're a trained appraiser and you've appraised 1 million houses.
Okay.
You can't appraise my house unless you want to buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because what's the only true appraisal That's the man with the money.
Who will pay you whatever
I've seen
for that
people-
house.
Sure.
I've seen
Yeah.
people pay way too much,
Right.
and I've seen people do what I would consider you stole that piece of property.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, it's all subjective to the man's opinion.
Right, but that's
I
what I
wouldn't
said.
give you a plug nickel
Yeah.
for a house in a subdivision. I just wouldn't.
Right.
It's not my deal.
But there's
But in my
also,
case-
but that's also part of the free market, though. I mean,
It
that's how the
is.
free
Yeah,
market
exactly.
runs.
But
Exactly.
too,
And we're
my
kind of getting
land-
we're catching the negative side
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
free market right
Exactly.
now with this inflation.
because
And
there's
you
no
know,
price on my
if-
land.
If
Yeah.
You know, it's generational land.
Sure.
It's not for sale, and you can't put a price on that. But he might decide he might want to sell his for several $100,000.
Right.
But just because he sells his for that doesn't mean mine has to automatically jump to that price.
for
Well, but
And that's what
actually,
it's doing.
but actually, in the long run, if you think about it, because you got to process. To me, I'm just as much on board with the eliminate property
Yeah.
tax.
If this had anything whatsoever to do with an actual real estate market,
Right.
it would be different. And I wouldn't have a problem with my house value going up,
Right.
but it doesn't. All this appraisal is for ad valorem property taxes. It don't have crap
But
to
they're
do with real
right.
estate.
I understand that.
Right.
But
Totally
they have-
different people,
Right.
totally different
But I
appraisers.
understand that. But those numbers collide at a certain point.
No,
Because
not really.
okay, so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to sit here and you try the best we can to use logic and reason to look at this
Yeah.
thing. 15 years ago, and none of us could pull up prices 15 years ago.
Right.
But what I can say is, for the house that I live in currently, 15 years ago, that house was priced at around $60,000. Okay? The price on that house, that appraised value, was set by the market. The market out here is everybody looking at all the houses, determining what they're willing to pay for, how much they're willing to pay, and houses that were comparable to that house set the appraisal in the long run. Okay? Now, here's where the tricky part is. Now we have a dilemma where Texas property as a whole is going up because of everybody trying to get off the West Coast and everybody trying to move out of Houston, Austin, Dallas, and those places. So the rural Texas property values are going up because out there for a quarter acre in California or in Oregon or Washington, you're paying $1 million.
Well, actually, Jay, it depends on where you are in rural Texas.
Yeah.
I understand that. I
For
understand
the
that,
property.
and that's minutia.
If you're in the
Yeah,
that is- that's
if you're in
getting
East
caught in the
Texas,
weeds.
if you're in East Texas, it really isn't.
what's going
That's
on? Yeah.
Really isn't.
Yeah.
But if you're in the Austin area,
Yeah.
yes, you're in the
No,
hill
no, no,
country.
no, no,
Yes.
Hold up. This is starting to split hairs. My point is, you have those people who are used to buying that property out
Yeah.
there for those prices, who are coming and buying property here in rural Texas. And I just got finished talking to a real estate person just 2 weeks ago who said out of the 10 homes they just sold, 9 of them went to people in Oregon and Washington State who are used to paying that inflated amount for that same half, quarter acre,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Was it
and
here
they
in East
come
Texas?
Yes, in
Really?
Center
And-
Texas.
and those-
And here's the thing. So just give me just a second.
Yeah,
But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
the deal is, if you've got this inflated point of view coming to East Texas and buying up loads of property because they have this twisted view of what property values are worth around here, they don't know that living outside of they don't you can turn it off. They don't know that living outside of Center Texas is basically you're going to be driving an hour to get to anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't know that yet. They will. Okay. So I mean, but the deal is that inflated perspective is coming into our market and pushing the prices because now you have a situation where if you take a real estate person who's out here selling houses and they get a call from somebody in Oregon and they have a 50-acre piece of property with a barn dominium on it and they want to sell it for $400,000 and somebody buys it, the neighbor says, "What in the hell just happened? You sold your house for how much?" And then they go, "Well, by God, who's your realtor? Because I want to sell my house." And then now, over time, the prices of the entire market gets flooded out with these exorbitant rates. So I'm not saying that is the end all be all. Do I think that plays a part? I think the fact that we are in an inflated environment right now on the property costs, on the property values, is affecting some of this appraisal stuff.
Yeah, because
I ain't saying it's all.
appraisal's
Those-
just nothing but an opinion.
Yeah, you're right on
you know?
that. I think you're right
And-
on the appraisal part.
See, because I mean, you
It's-
think
it
about
is-
people just
on
turning
the
around going, you know what?
inflation part.
I'm going to sell my house and we're going to move in to an apartment complex until all of it falls apart,
Yeah.
and then we're going to go out and buy it.
There's some
again.
people. There's some
people doing that.
There's some
will.
people I know doing
There's
that.
people
yeah.
doing that right now.
There's people I know.
But what I
doing
was
that.
Those-
thinking,
Yeah.
that is like,
But is that kind of hitting on the same
if
note?
people
I mean,
are looking to buy property and they want to look at the tax from a couple years ago, and they're wanting to go by that.
yeah,
That's where I thought you were going with that.
I got you.
Because, for instance, one of the board members has a property for sale. And
board
it-
members at JCAD.
Mhm. And it's they're selling for way more than what it is on the tax roll.
Sure.
So
Once
you can't
again,
just-
going back to that.
Yeah, you can't.
How much are they willing to pay?
Right. It's
But that
I paid
infla-
that for it, but that don't mean I am. But that,
Right, sure.
but-
We know what property values are worth around here.
exactly, and that's why this whole system doesn't work.
Okay.
Because the way this is going right now, it's just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and it's just going to drive us out of our homes even faster because real estate, that's the
That's kind of
wealth
driving.
builder. That's the thing
Yeah.
of all wealth right there. I mean,
So
If
tell me
something
this.
changes,
So go ahead.
if something changes,
Yeah.
and suddenly this deal is all these people coming in here who are used to buying land by the square foot.
Right.
So they come to Buna, Texas, or Jasper, Texas,
Yeah.
and they buy land by the acre, and they go, doggone, they're giving this land away. It's cheap because they're used to buying. They
Oh,
do
yeah.
sell it by the square foot.
That's right. I know.
Right.
So sooner or later, the crazy stuff's just got in. So when they say Alicia's house, are they ever going? When it happens, are they going to say, well, Alicia's house is only worth $100,000 now?
Right.
yeah.
You think they're going to go down on their taxes?
Yeah, I was wondering.
No.
Will the taxes go down? However, whenever
No.
So
they
so
go
here's
down?
a question.
Because the real estate market's going to collapse.
It's gonna
It's
collapse.
coming.
It's going to collapse.
It's coming.
It's supposed
So
to.
here's a question for you then. So say eliminatepropertytax.com does not make a dent in legislature. Okay? How do you, as a property owner, obviously we're all property owners here, but how do you, as a property owner who's eyeball deep in this thing, how do we make any headway for your property if there's no eliminate property tax even in the mix? I mean, thank God for what you guys are pushing forward
Right.
on and trying to get
Good
done.
question.
At the same time, how do we move forward in the meantime? Because you ain't got time to wait on
Right.
legislators to line up and get
Right.
in row.
The main thing is that school tax is the biggest part of that bill, right? Well, that is the state's constitutional obligation, and they're
The school part is.
Yeah, and they're
it's
just-
a big deal.
just
We've
pushing
got
that
rid-
down on
It's
us.
a
And
big deal.
if that was out of the equation, it wouldn't be as bad.
Okay.
Now, I say that because there's always room for more, but the next thing is, just like with all the finger pointing and nobody wanting to take the blame for it, I guess you'd say,
Okay.
nobody wanting to be that. Everybody wants to be authority until it's something like this, It's,
Sure.
it's the blame game, and that's what started me on it, and that's why I keep calling Austin and calling James White and visiting the board, because James White is telling me this is a local thing. You have to fix it on a local level, and he's pointing me to the commissioner's court and things like that. And
Who appoints the chief?
Are you getting any results from the court?
That's
no,
another good question. too.
no, everybody's mad at everybody. They're pointing their fingers at everybody else. They don't want the blame. All they have control over is their vote for their member that they put on the board.
Okay.
That's basically what each taxing entity has control over, is their board member. And this is back. I was talking with James White again the other day about it all, and the property tax division there in Austin again, and if somebody's got to have authority. So if the board of directors has no authority over appraisals, if the taxing unit governing body has no authority, the Texas legislature has no authority or input over evaluations, well, guess whose authority it is? The chief. It's all her authority
With no oversight.
Okay.
with no oversight.
So if that's the case, then my question would be this. Is there a preset formula that we don't know about for how they get from appraisal to tax? Because that's
Well,
a big
you-
question, right?
In the down and dirty, they just take the appraisal and multiply it times the rate, and there's your tax. So if they go down, here's the deal that the legislature's done a bunch of, I can say this, I guess, bull crap.
Right.
I can say that.
Yeah.
And they call it relief and reform, and they just pat themselves all over the back about, oh, we did this. It never does nothing. It does nothing because they just go up on the appraisals.
Right.
And the legislature thinks that the county commissioners, not just Jasper County.
Right,
I'm
but-
not just throwing rocks at
All
them.
254.
But the legislature thinks that they're going to be honest and go down on your rate because your value in it, but they don't usually. We're hoping they will this year.
Right.
Because that
we're
tax
appealing
law
to them.
it's built to encourage them to go down on that tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in there at that meeting the other day, that's what I was saying was we have got these massive appraisals. Most of us, not all of us, because there's a lot that didn't
Yep.
get affected still.
It's all right here,
And we
right?
have got to have that tax rate, no new revenue rate, which is, they need to drop that
Right.
tax rate. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have to. Each taxing entity has to. If not, people are going to be losing their homes. They're going to be bankrupt. I mean,
Old
there's
people,
there's
yeah.
people that, they're on Social Security. Well, everything else coming out, they can't afford another $20.
Right.
And that was my whole argument with the whole budget thing. We're having to do all this.
Mm-hmm.
It's pushing people to the breaking point, and some have already broke. But here we are. You don't want to put your employees in a bind. Well, what about us?
Yeah, what about
because
us?
we're in a bind ourselves. Something's got to give, and that's where Judge Allen did invite me to come in and sit with them and try to come up with a plan of action to figure out what we could sit down and do.
I think that's the biggest hurdle.
And
One of 'em-
send it to the governor.
Yeah.
And because he agrees that something needs to be done about these appraisals.
Right.
And the the whole scheme as a whole, because we don't have equal and uniform appraisals or taxation or anything. There's some of us that are paying way more than others, and when you have businesses and just certain people, and I mean, you could just pull a random one up and look at their neighbor or whatever, and I'm not talking about exemptions, and it's going to be just
We're okay.
different, way different.
Yeah.
He's our bodyguard.
Well, so I guess my question would be is if that's the case, obviously exemptions got to come into the conversation.
Mm-hmm. They're collecting, they're exempting almost as much as they're collecting in taxes. It's almost a 50-50 thing, but half of
my
them is probably
question
not
is,
even there. I
are
mean, good ones.
exemptions set by the chief or
Mm-hmm.
by legislature?
She has to approve them, and then the board has to sign off on them. You have to
But
fill
is
out
there a
the thing.
stipulation? I understand
Mhm.
all that, but
The-
is there a
the-
stipulation where she's required
Mm-hmm.
to, like, say, if you come in and you're doing, I think you said grazing, okay? So and you have a grazing, she has to approve it, but it's
does,
it's
yes.
according to a line upon line, precept upon precept outline that the
Yeah,
law is
they-
given
state
her,
law.
right?
Yeah.
State law is given her.
Yeah.
The
State
farm
law.
exemptions these days, Jasper County has just across the board before it took away everybody's homestead exemption, made you reapply.
Right.
Because so many people, I said homestead.
Right.
I meant farm exemption, if I
Okay.
said it wrong.
Okay.
Your farm exemption, because so many people had a farm exemption,
Yeah.
but they had no reason.
Sure.
Except they were lowering their taxes.
Gotcha.
So you had to go back up there and sign back up, prove to them, so on and so forth.
Just like,
But you know of some
Yeah.
cases where we've had to fight for our homestead exemption, our ag exemption.
Farm
Right,
exemption.
right.
And she knows of cases.
you had to jump through the hoops. And then there's some of these that you look at them in the city limits or whatever else, and I don't think that they had to jump through the same hoops because they don't even have the right amount of acreage, and they dang sure ain't farming right here in the middle.
They
middle
say
of
you
the-
got to have
Yeah,
5
maybe.
acres.
Right, but there's difference. So let me see if I'm understanding the argument correctly. So the argument is that there are people who are inside city limits who are getting farm exemption, and they're getting the farm exemption benefits, but they're not doing anything.
But they're not farming.
They're not
Yeah.
doing anything
And there's
farming.
a-
Is that right?
And there's,
Yeah, I was. Gonna,
Okay.
I thought I had
think
the.
that's her.
I had a thing
You can
for
do-
you, but I
You,
don't know where
you
it's
can
at
do
right now.
bees, but
Right.
there's a certain criteria
Right.
you got to meet to do the bees.
I got you.
Yeah,
you
you
can
have
do
to
cows. There's
meet
a
a guideline.
percentage they do per acre. You got to have it's a decimal point or something.
Okay.
It's 1.28 cows per acre. I'm just throwing a number at
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
you. Goats, sheep, chickens.
But there's stipulations for those exemptions. Is
Yeah.
what you're
There
saying,
are.
and
Yeah.
these
There
guys
are.
aren't following those
Now,
exemptions.
And then you
Orange
even have-
County recently changed. I do believe in Jasper County it's 5 acres. I
Okay.
think is a minimum. Orange County, I was told, changed that to either 15 or 20.
That's about right.
Yeah, you-
Now I know,
That's
I personally got 14 acres of
Right.
mine and then leased property.
Yeah.
But if they took away, if they made that say 15,
Yeah.
and I can't have my farm exemption, I don't think I can afford to live there.
Right.
Now I do cows.
Right.
You know, I got a legitimate ag exemption.
Right.
But if you made it 15 or 20 acres, and I don't qualify, they got the land prices jacked up so high.
That it'll affect you in the long run.
I just got to sell and go buy
Something.
more land, and who wants to buy land right now?
Right.
With
Yeah, who can
you know,
afford to
and
buy
there's
land
those
right
with,
now?
with dual homesteads too. You know, you can only have one homestead. Well, there's
Yeah.
several that I've run across that's two exemptions right there. Well, all
Two
that,
exemptions. Now, what do you mean by that?
the same family member or the same person has two different homesteads, just two different addresses, but it's in the same county.
So,
Well, you can't even have but one in the whole state. I mean,
so yeah,
Supposed to be.
yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from what I understand, some of that has to do with how you, when you're buying your, like, say, if you have a piece of property, and then you go out and you buy a mobile home
Yeah,
with these
that's different, though.
land home deals.
that's different than what I'm talking about. This
Okay.
is two actual homestead, two, you know what I mean?
Two like
Yeah, I
pier
mean,
beam
because
homes.
and the reason they have to do
You're-
that with a mobile home is because they're all personal property unless you elect them to be real property.
That's correct.
So
So you're going to
gonna
get
have
two
two on
exemptions.
there.
Yeah,
It's going to
exactly.
show that way on your deal.
right,
But I'm talking brick and mortar properties,
right.
two different addresses, the whole 9 yards. Not the same
Now you-
address,
so
two
you-
different homes.
Two different homes that are homestead,
Yes.
and they're owned by the same person.
Yes.
So I asked James White straight up 2, 3, 4 weeks ago,
Right.
is there any, can you think of any reason, can you think of any situation where a person can have two homesteads in the state of Texas?
Right.
So, you know, he
Yeah.
thinks a little bit, you know, before he
You're
answers the
divorced.
questions. He thought a little
You're
bit.
divorced.
And he said, the only way is, let's say you inherit a piece of property,
Right.
and your daddy had a homestead exemption on that piece of property,
Right.
and you inherit it in the middle of
Yeah.
the year. You can maintain that exemption
For the
until
remainder
the
of the
end of the
year.
year. At
For
the
the
remainder of the year,
At the end, you lose that homestead exemption.
exactly.
Yeah, we know.
The only question,
We've gone through that.
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
question I'd
It's not
have,
happening
Yeah.
in some cases.
Yeah.
the only question I'd have is if that is the case, because it's like this. I mean, I could buy a piece of property in my wife's name.
You can't get an exemption though.
She can't get a homestead exemption.
No.
I can't buy it through.
That's your spouse.
I can't buy it through my son. Y'all got to tell me what the trick
I
is.
mean, I don't know. You'll have to
I
ask
just
them.
want to.
Barnett.
If you
You'll
put
have
it,
to ask these people.
if you put it in Jeremiah's name,
Done.
yeah, if you put it
Done.
in Jeremiah's name, but the problem is this: he could come in and say it's mine and take it away from you.
That's okay. I feed him, so I mean, there's
He
that.
could beat it. If it's his son, he could beat it.
Anyway, you,
Are we on the air?
you
Because
do-
I'm talking about beating
No,
kids.
no,
You have to have-
We're running
Yeah,
to the
we're-
deal here.
You do
We're-
have to have certain requirements
We're-
for the
okay.
ag and timber
got
exemption
you.
like you're talking about, and it has to be within a certain, realm, and,
Sure.
I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about when it's legit and when it's not.
Right,
People
right.
know.
So my question would be this: Who's the double dipping here?
You want names?
Well,
If-
no.
well,
no,
I'll tell you
no,
what,
no,
I'll tell
we
you
can't
what.
really give names because
Well, we
That's
say
why I
that.
asked were we on the
We
air.
say that
well,
we're
we
not
are
on the air.
YouTube, and it'll be on.
We're not-
It'll
we're
be
not
on
on
there
the air.
perpetually. And so
But if
let's
you
don't do
got
that.
them, I'll look at them.
You know, I
And
was
we'll-
wanting to comment something a while ago. If you'll give me a
Yeah,
another
yeah,
minute,
go ahead,
and
go
I
ahead.
know I've probably
No, you're good. Go ahead.
took too much of your time, but QB can tell you I can take the floor given a chance. Several years ago, Jasper County paid for a study to be done to see if they could save some money doing some efficiency studies. The people who independently done the efficiency study said, y'all got way too many JP courts.
I believe
What
that.
do y'all have a JP court in Evadale, 12 miles in
Yeah.
Buna,
Yeah,
13 miles
Yeah.
in Kirbyville, and you got
Yeah.
3 up here on the north end?
I believe that.
And they suggested 2, one in Buna, one in Jasper. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Now I live in Buna, but if I lived in Evadale, how many times do I need that JP court for something?
Only if you're paying a fine.
Or maybe go buy your license
Yeah.
plates once a year,
But
but
you're going to be doing that if you drive if you're in Evadale. Anyway,
I'm
you're
gonna
going
point
to be
one out to
driving
you, and I
the
don't mind saying
sub-courthouse.
Exactly.
This is
You
so,
Joe
so,
Dawkins.
but
He is
I
a
called the county
ARB
commissioner,
member.
and y'all told me
ARB
don't
board
say
member.
names, but I called
He's
our
at
old
the-
county commissioner, talked to him
He's
about
at
it.
Rayburn.
And I said, look, I know about this study. Like most people didn't know about it. I said, I know
His
about this
property ain't
study.
moving.
I said,
That's his property right there.
you know,
All right, hold on
I've
one
thought
second.
this a long time.
Let's jump on this and just.
You got JPs all over
Yeah,
the
this
place,
is a good
of
one.
course.
Yeah.
And it ain't personal. Friend of mine's wife's JP. It is not personal.
Yeah.
It's business. It's my property taxes. So I called and the guy says, you know, we can't do that. That's our friends and family and I love them. I'm quoting
That is
a county
the,
commissioner.
That is the
That is-
same crap you hear when you start talking about cutting back at school stuff. There is so much waste at school. There are people that are hired at Buna ISD. I don't know what the hell they do.
I got him
It's the
started.
same way. It's the same way at all of them, and it's
You
not
know,
just the
and
county.
it's gotten
it's
worse since I
school too,
retired.
and it's city too. It's
What the hell do
everywhere.
you do?
I think
We
it's small
can't
town
seem to
stuff.
do nothing with
You
any
know,
of this.
I think it's
You
small
know-
town stuff because I mean it boils down to this: we can't cut nobody loose because we go to church with them on Sunday.
That's exactly what I'm
We
getting
gonna
at.
see them on Sunday at noon when we go to Mama's house, and we all go
Yeah,
eat biscuits
that's why
and
this
corntogether.
is-
Yeah, we
that's
all
why
gonna
this
eat
has been
fried
this way
chicken
for so
together,
long.
yeah.
It's
not. It ain't
No.
personal.
It's not the most
It's
efficient.
just business.
Yeah.
Let me
And
show him
it's
this right
our
quick. Let me
taxes,
show him
go
this.
All right.
This is Joe Dawkins.
Okay.
He's on the ARB board member. I'll say it. I mean, he's
Now,
on the board.
this-
You can look it up. Everybody can look it up. He lives at Rayburn.
Public information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
From 2014 to 2018,
Land stayed at
his
8,500.
Rayburn land stayed at $8,500
Some of that
across
Rayburn
from the
land.
water.
Well, yeah. I
His
get-
neighbors didn't. His neighbors were way more than that. Now, once he built his house, of course, then it went up.
Once he built the house on there,
Once he got his house on there, and once I've already published this one time, but it jumped from in 2018 right here, still $8,500 for across Waterview right there. It jumped to 27 right there. Well, lo and behold, it finally jumped to there.
when did he build the home?
You sure?
2020,
He built the home in 2020.
it's on there.
And it took 3 years to go up. Are you saying?
Yeah, but we're talking $8,500. Here's the water at Rayburn right here.
Did the neighbors have houses on their property, or do you know?
Mhm.
Are
And this is
all,
when I'm-
do all these plots here, or what do you call them, lots?
Lots,
Do
yeah.
all these lots have homes on them, or is it wooded?
No, they have homes on them.
And they're on the water.
They are actually
They are on
waterfront.
the water.
Yeah. So this is where people can use that map, and they can go on there and they can click on each one of these, and they can see how much they're valued and see what the difference is on them, because
So you're saying there's no
for-
reason.
No. Especially when, let me show you this. This is a man that was at the commissioner's court meeting the other day. I didn't know him, but he knew me, and he knew, what I was doing, and he was, thanking me for bringing this to attention, because his land, this is not far from there at Rayburn, and this is a lot of Rayburn out there, has jumped from $5,000 for 3 acres to $152,000 just this year. There's no rhyme or reason for that. There's just because it's Rayburn. But you go down just a few more lots down, another 3 acres, same area, is still $30,000. Why didn't theirs go up to $150,000? There's no rhyme or reason. It makes no sense at all. It's like they're just randomly going around hitting a figure.
All right, so this guy's lot, now correct me if I'm wrong, this guy's lot was at 8,500 Dawkins. And you're saying that guy's 3 acres was at $5,000 an acre?
Yeah, right here. His land sat at $5,000, and then it jumped up.
Did he
In
put a
one
house
year,
on it?
no,
Or lot of
not
per
right
acre.
this, not this right here. Now he has a house, but it's on his different lot. This jumped up that much in 1 year.
Is the different lot, okay, so here's my
It's the
question.
lot adjoining.
Adjoining.
His
Did he encompass it in his taxes is the question,
No,
I
it's
guess.
separate. That's why they have a separate assessment.
Okay.
It's not part of his house. It's just his land beside his house.
So the real question is this, did he go to him and have him
he's
define
doing
it?
all that. Yeah,
He's doing all that right now?
it's
So,
just like
okay.
everybody. They
All
want
right.
to know why it's
Okay.
like that.
So that will be the next step to me. Once again, going back to actionable items. If you're seeing your property, if you're out there and you're still listening, we appreciate you for tuning in. If you're out there and you see these appraisals and see your taxes coming in, and you're looking at this thing and you think there's something out of whack, get your notes together. Get your paperwork together. You've got to protest this thing. I don't give a crap if the protest date is over. You need to go down there and try to figure it out. You need to get down there and have somebody give you some answers, because in the long run, if you're not down there, I mean, if we're playing Monday morning quarterback on this deal, and we're all talking about it over the water cooler at work and how frustrated we are, and then we still cut the check, we're complicit in the whole dilemma. I mean, if you're not going to go down there and you're not going to communicate and try to figure out or have them explain to you what's going on. I mean, some of these properties. Now, here's
You can
another
just
property.
flip through there and you can just randomly pick out somebody, because, and I don't care what anybody says, because the on black and white and paper, it's going to tell you a whole different thing than what somebody's going to tell you, as far as it's not all connected or anything like that. If it's not, it's a hell of a coincidence, because amazingly, you have this board member right here. Well, most of his properties, you can see there's 2014 and 2018, and there ain't a dollar difference. But you flip through and you look over here at another random property, and theirs have tripled or whatever.
So
There's
what is
no
this?
ri-
What
there's-
is this property here?
This one, I don't know where it is. Lot. This is in Ryle Acres right there. So you could probably go through
And
there.
how many acres is actually in it?
Let's
Does it
see.
say?
This one doesn't say. It just says lot. On
So
this
it's probably a
one.
lot with a house on it or something.
Yep, there's the house. There's improvements, the house, and then that's the land. This is it right here. It'll say. It just says lot.
Okay, Ryle Acres, and then
But it doesn't give, and that's another thing, because there'll be some properties that'll have an unknown description, and then there'll be some properties that'll say subdivision, and then there'll be some that'll give
And there's no exemptions
different.
on that property.
And then it'll have, there's so much missing information that shouldn't be.
Gotcha.
Just like on the one we were just talking about with Mr. Dawkins. Well, his property said unknown on it for the land description, but his neighbors didn't.
Right. I got you.
That makes a difference when you're valuing property to have a full description on there.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
All right. So, okay. So there's at least enough to look into it. What is...
I mean, there's properties in here that's got a homestead exemption on them, and there's not even an improvement on it. I mean, and there's a property that they don't have addresses on them, and I mean, there's so many things, and with the amount of new technology they just keep getting, there's no reason for that. Just like it took me over a year to get them to correct the mapping system where it had our properties mixed up.
Okay.
They were wrong. Well, you keep calling. There's supposed to be somebody dedicated in there just to mapping.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what she was doing because it took a year to get it done.
Okay.
I mean,
You
really,
know,
and that affects
yeah,
everything. When you
Steve,
put it in your
sure.
GPS, it was wrong. It would take you to the other house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve Stewart showed me in right here in one of these offices, and about 3 years ago, he showed me an ALB member who I didn't know at the time, and he got on Street View and showed me Rayburn Country,
Right.
basically what I'll call houses that looked exactly the same, cookie cutter type houses.
Right.
And I'm just throwing a number because I don't have stuff in front of me, so I'm gonna just throw a generic number. 250 values.
Okay.
250, 250, 250. The board got half of that, a little over half maybe. Go to the other side of his house, 250, 300, whatever the numbers were. It was a bunch. He was on the ARB. Now that was one of the deals that we thought was going to get blowed up, and because I gave him a bunch of information.
What do you mean by that, blowed
And
up?
we're not.
Well, you probably ain't supposed to say blowed up on the radio.
Well, you
right?
can.
Hey,
It don't matter.
it's your show.
You're not
man.
on the
matter.
FCC
It's
anymore.
all good.
Okay.
So,
Hey,
yeah.
they were going to do a news story on it. I give,
Talking about KJAS.
yes,
Okay.
I gave him a bunch of information like she's got, straight off the ARB website. He gave me a bunch of information. We looked at his computer on people that I didn't know because I don't know North County.
Okay.
And the deal was KJAS was working on a news story about this very thing. Matter of fact, James White is the one that told me to come over here and talk to KJAS. So I did. And then in the end, when nothing ever happened, I was basically told, I can't quote, but I was basically told, hey, our lawyers told us to leave it alone. So,
And who told you that?
Steve.
Steve. Okay.
So, if it's all coming off the JCAD, I understand whether it's legal and off the JCAD, they're probably going to get sued anyway, the way the culture is these days.
Well, the thing is it's not right for the mayor right here for his property, his land, from 2014 to
2019.
yeah. There's nothing there. But you take a widow woman down the road from me whose property at the same time is tripling, or you take their neighbor and theirs is moving, well, why aren't theirs? There's nothing, you can't explain that. It ain't got nothing to do with anything freezing or exemptions or nothing else. They can't tell you any of that crap because he doesn't have that.
All right. So my question is this: looking at this, it looks like his house has decreased in value in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
No, I
You'll
say
see
the
a lot
last
of
5
that,
years. It's decreased in
depending on who
value.
you are.
It's decreased in value, and his land value has stayed the same.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in,
Well, there's
that
a-
would be Mr. Randy Sayers And let me see here. Let me see if I got his address right. I have no idea what his address is actually.
I think there's two of them.
Yeah,
It's right there.
don't do his address. Don't do his
No, I'm not
address.
telling you
All
what
I
his
gotta do
address
is pull
is.
it up, but
Yeah, I mean it's on the website.
Yeah, it's public. It's public
see.
yeah,
knowledge.
there's the other one.
We're
So
not
this
gonna
is
give it to you
this is
here.
his
Yeah,
office.
look, the other one, his office decreased by 20-something thousand.
$20,000. So here, okay. So let's look at this, ladies and gentlemen, just for a second, just for a quick second.
Now,
In 2014, the building on that property was $63,619. That was in 2014. In 2018, it went down in value to $41,749. Now, here's what's interesting about that. Do you know where this is located?
I do not. Where is this
His,
located,
his
Jay?
office is located just off the north side. I don't know what that road is, but the north side of the courthouse. Stay on that road on the right-hand side, right by Gee Shipman Pharmacy.
Okay, I know where it is.
So it's a little tax deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, the good part is, it depreciated. So that's an easy way to explain that away.
yeah.
So,
Well, and then the
you
other
know.
one is like,
but the property value stayed the same, although the building
Building depreciated.
depreciated. Sounded like almost depreciated as much as a vehicle.
Yeah. No
Hey,
kidding.
All buildings depreciate.
Well, sure.
They just do.
Yeah.
here's
We
the
have
one for you right
hurricanes and
here.
high winds.
Yeah,
and
in that
hail.
part of the world, yeah.
And who is this? Oh Lord, I don't even want to bring that
I
up.
was gonna
Oh
say-
my Lord.
His
Yeah.
stuff really didn't move. And
And it depreciated by
Yeah.
$5,000
Yeah,
over the
and-
course of a year.
we probably paid for it all over anyway.
Well, somebody in
But that's
In
what
that
I'm
deal is
saying.
paying
You
for
can
it.
pick through here, look at certain people, and theirs is going to be way different
My
than whenever
Lord.
you pick a random mobile home.
The
It's
young
going to triple.
the young people call them randos.
I'd say his name first. You have to let it go.
A friend of ours.
Well, in
at
case
work-
you're wondering who that was, it was Walter Diggle's property.
a friend of ours.
He's
at
probably
work-
still in some sort of litigation. I don't know.
friend of ours work lives in
Uh,
Gumslew. His trailer house, his old trailer house, went from like 38,000 to 117,000. And somebody that works
Trying
at
to
the
find a good
county
one for
that
you.
lives in a trailer house that's way newer than his went way down in value.
I would be very interested to find out more information about
You know,
Steve's comment or what you're saying Steve said in regard to not running that story based on lawyers.
Yeah.
the thing is, it's
I'll
all
be honest with
public
you, 'cause-
information. It's
Well,
all
that's
public.
not.
Not that, but all this.
Yeah. No, I get.
Yeah, but the
I get it 100%.
information that
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
story would have been based on was based on that public information.
Yeah.
'Cause we shared public information. He
Sure.
got his from the same place I got mine from.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
And,
So-
but, like,
Well, I mean, I would be interested to ask. And matter of fact, I think I'm going to ask Steve about that. But I mean, here's the thing. I find it difficult. I find that difficult to wrap my head around, just simply for the fact that I've seen some of the stories they've written, and some of them you'd think, man, it'd probably been better if you didn't write
Yeah,
that.
he's gonna get in trouble for this
Well,
one,
I mean,
and don't.
who's-
But I mean, at the same time, I mean, here's the deal. Different days, different years. I mean, who knows what all's involved. I know I know if it has been my experience that if there's a story, they normally ferret that thing out like a dang
yeah, but they
bloodhound.
don't.
You know, I,
They tiptoe around this like you wouldn't
Well,
believe, and it
I
doesn't have anything to do. I'm not talking about properties that got damaged or any legitimate reason
Right,
for them to
right.
decrease that much. But I mean, there's no rhyme or reason or anything else with a lot of this. It just makes no sense.
I thought the lawyer deal was just a cop out for what because they do run whatever kind of stories they seem to want to run.
Well, the thing is this, hey, and they're not here to defend themselves, but
Yeah,
I do.
exactly.
I definitely think that's an interesting thought.
Grant writers for the county here.
Grant writers for the county.
Yeah. They got. You'll see my random things throughout here. When I look at all these properties, I'm really looking at them way from a long time, and I'm looking at their. I'll
Sure.
go through and I'll do their
Well,
compare their
that's-
acreages and compare their houses and things like that with the maps and all that.
That doesn't seem to be too much. Some of this doesn't seem to be too much of a departure of what I'm dealing with over there in Newton
Yeah.
County, because our property stayed the same for like 4 or 5 years, and then went up in the last few
Right.
years. And the way that was explained to me was it has to do with the marketplace, and how there is a push specifically for single family dwellings right now. There's a huge push for that are under like 10 acres. And so that have 10 acres associated with them, so or 10 acres or less. And so that's how it was being explained to me. Now, hey, once again, I'm still
But
trying to sift
If
through the weeds
theirs is doing
myself.
that, if theirs is staying the same, well, the neighbors aren't stay the same too.
Well, sure.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
sure.
Or,
That'd be different.
or
Yeah.
you know, if theirs is land is decreasing, then for the, you know,
And land's not decreasing.
well, it
Not
is
a
for
lot,
some
no.
people.
Well,
Yeah.
And you know, you're supposed to take an account for those kind of things and for the economy and all that, but that's not what it is.
so one of the things
That's
to
not
be
what it
real
is.
clear about for all you guys out there online, everybody that we just went through, these are all print-offs. This is not our opinions about this. These are all print-offs from the JCAD website. If you haven't been over there, go check it out. Just look up Jasper County Appraisal District on Google or whatever other kind of magic box you have to look it up on. And go in there. There's an actual place where you can look at properties or something like
Properties
that.
and the maps.
And then you can go to maps. It'll be up in the right-hand corner once you click on properties, I think. And then you can kind of go, you can type in your property, you can look at that, or you can just
But
peruse around on the map, and that's the coolest part
you
to
won't
me.
find everything on there. There's a lot that's already gone now that used to be on there.
And what do you mean by
As
that?
far as, you know,
Like
used
since-
to you could go back to the 90s and 70s and all that. Look, you can't anymore. Probably 2016 on a lot of these is as far back as you're going to be able to go. But, you know, I have some that goes back further because I started this, you know, a long
Few
time
years
ago.
back,
And so
right.
I have that kind of stuff. But a lot of that stuff has disappeared. And
Somebody's got a $2,000 house on that
I have an
property?
improvement, which could be anything from a shed
A shed
to whatever.
I got you.
You know,
And that's for a little over half an acre here in Jasper.
the same people that was same grant writer.
Okay.
It's just not. The thing is, if it's going to be for one, it needs to be for everybody. There's
So you're
there's
basically saying that's the
obvious
biggest deal.
favoritism, and there's insufficiencies, there's inaccuracies, there's favoritism, biased. And it's evident, and it's. I don't think it's a coincidence that it happens to be with people of influence.
Okay.
I don't think that's a coincidence. That's my opinion. But if it wasn't a coincidence, then why didn't mine go down, or
Yeah,
my
it's-
mama's go down,
it's
or
only-
his? I mean, it's
Only
not.
people of influence.
It's, yeah, and you know, commercial properties are way, way undervalued compared to ours. They don't see the same increases that we see. You know, I mean, that's just part of it. And if they would do that, they could pull in so much more revenue instead of just putting it on the homeowners. If they would tax these commercial ones, right? You know, instead of giving them the free ride all the time.
Well, but at
because
the
we're
same
getting it.
time, you got to go back to the comparables.
Yeah.
Because in the long run, if you think about this, it's like the last time you was here, you talked about the Dave Phelan property
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so from what I understand, the way that the prices are set on taxes for what's considered investment properties or money making properties is based off of how much money is actually being paid in per month per unit, correct? And so
Yeah.
so out
On
of
some
that,
of that, yeah.
well, the deal is, I mean, if you go down there, that whole section that's that used to have the Marines and all that stuff over there in the corner, all that's empty now. I think there's only one or two people who's actually in there.
Yeah.
And so, to me, I'm sitting here going, okay, on one hand, I kind of back up and I go, ooh, Dave Field Investments, the Field Investment Group, there must be something going on here. But when you back up and you go, okay, now if you go over and you look at Kinnear's properties, and you kind of have some of the same stuff, it's being based off of how much the tax, from what I'm understanding, the taxes are being based off of the revenue stream for the whole year.
No, not on all of it, because if that was the case, then why wouldn't Kinnear's residential rental properties, why ain't they moving?
Well,
on some of
once
them,
again, it has to go with how many people's actually. Now, this is just what I'm being told. Tell me if I'm wrong or not. But
You wrong.
well, the thing is this. I mean, if I'm being told that from the
Yeah, I
actual
know,
people
that's
who are
what I'm
doing
saying.
this,
That's what I'm saying.
if I'm being told this from the people who are cutting these deals here, I say cutting these deals, the people who are actually in charge of doing the taxes for the city or the county,
Yeah.
then who's incorrect here?
I know exactly what you mean.
No, but who is incorrect? If I have an authority figure who's telling me this,
I guess it just depends on how much research you do.
okay? But if I'm
'Cause
having
I'm not going to take her word for it because I know better.
okay, but if I'm having an authority figure tell me this, and they're saying this is basically how the classifications works.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
going to believe her. You're gonna have to, because they're
My
holding
que-
your property hostage otherwise.
My question is, at the end of the day, to compare my single family house over there in Newton County to Dave Phelan's investment property over here.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't
And-
compare to
that's
that.
not-
That's
No,
not
what I'm saying is, as far as property, what we're talking about is the reason for the inflation on my property over there, because my property went up $30,000. Okay, I got no problem with it. You know why? I went on there, I did the Zillow thing, looked around on Zillow, looked at the comps for my type of property in that area recently, and you know what? I couldn't find a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath right in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I had to look outside of the area, but still inside the county, to determine a rough estimate value. And to be honest with you, I don't want to say this live on the air, but I will say this. I'm fine with paying
Yeah, but
that part.
I was going to say, but you can't always.
But
They're
the-
not
but-
the best credible.
but the deal
I understand that, but I just did that as a lane
I
guy.
know what you're
You know what I'm saying?
But the
I
deal
do.
is, you're good with the evaluation.
I'm good with
You're
it.
good.
Yeah.
It went up, but you're good with it. How can something go up that much in 1 year? But okay, you're good with it.
Well, it didn't go up for 5 years. So
Okay.
to me, I'm sitting here going,
Yeah.
okay, well,
So,
if we basically
but-
took 30,000, spread it out
Theor-
over 6 years, I
theoretically-
can kind of deal with that.
Theoretically, since the state makes all the rules, except
Theoretically,
they don't enforce them, they just make them.
Right.
Because they refuse to enforce them.
right?
They got to go down on that rate.
Okay.
Because why do they need that much more money out of you and me and all the rest of them?
Sure,
They
sure.
don't need that much more money.
I guess
Go down on the rate.
Right. I guess what I'm talking about, though, is if we're going to talk about why, or if we're going to throw out the assumption or the statement, why are these guys who own investment properties or investment groups, why are their property values not going up? Obviously, that has to do with where the heat's at. And what I mean by that is, from a market standpoint, there's obviously heat in the single-family dwelling part of this thing. But far as investment properties go, if they're not actually, if we just back up and we say, okay, say there's 20 investment properties like something that's comparable to the investment property over here for the Field Investments, okay? We say there's 20 here. None of them sold in the last year or the last 10 years. Then you have nothing comparable. You don't have an influx of buyers into that market. Is this making sense?
Well, I guess if
you
you
don't
go
have
back
an
to the-
influx. You don't have an influx of buyers into that investment chain market. So that price, that value, is not going up. And then it's also tied to the stipulation of how many actual. Because I can tell you this: the comparable that I'm sitting here thinking about is Phelan's property versus the other place that's got Pizza Hut and all that in it now, because that place is slammed. Well, I mean, I think it's even got the.
So what about Coburn's? They own Coburn's too.
What do you mean?
Coburn's the
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is it's the difference of properties, and it goes even to what the church, the church that owns that, or the church that used to own it. I don't know who owns it now. But the little strip mall there, where that big church was, where the Chinese kitchen place is, and all that stuff. So that's another strip mall there, And then you have Kinnear's strip mall back over there, over by Walmart. You know, if there's no influx of buyers to buy those things, then obviously the values are going to stay the same, and plus they'll probably stay the same based on what they're saying the stipulation is
But
of
that's
how
not
many
the way
people's
that
renting.
is. That's not the way that is, because
What do you mean?
not everybody's is like that. You have some that are decreasing, and you have some that are increasing, and you have some that are staying the same, right in the same. Yeah, the same
Specifically,
things. Yeah.
specifically investment property.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's what this whole thing is about, because there's no rhyme or reason for it. You can't have two identical things unless there's some sort of an agreement somewhere.
Which is very possible.
And if you know the right, if you got the lawyers,
Right.
and there's loopholes in
And
every
you know how to
single
navigate
system
it.
out there.
Sure.
Or if somebody at the appraisal district will share a loophole with me,
Right.
but they won't share a loophole with her.
Right.
See, they can say, hey, do this, and we can make the taxes go down, or whatever. But they're not doing that for everybody.
Okay.
That's the deal, you know. You can.
I think that'd be a healthy thing is if there was a place that you could actually go to see what exemption qualifications
You
or
can,
parameters there are.
You
What
can-
abatements there are.
you can-
Yeah, that would be awesome.
you
Well,
can,
you can look those up, and
Are they on
and-
their website, do you
No, but, you can do. They should be, but they're not.
you can have some pasture land over here and no
Sure.
cows.
Right.
You don't want no cows, but you got 20 acres over here.
Right.
But your neighbor's got cows.
Right.
And you got a gate.
Yeah.
You can allow your neighbor's cows to graze that property, and
And that helps you on your
that
property.
will give you
Yeah.
an ag exemption.
I
You
got
can
you.
lease it to them, or you can let them.
I
do it
think
for
I would
free,
like.
whatever you
I
want.
think one of the
But
things.
they don't share that with people.
Well,
Yeah.
and at the same
Yeah.
time, it's kind of one of those deals where you've got a tax guy who's sitting here going, now listen, talk to your lawyer.
Yeah.
Talk to your lawyer about this. See, but I mean, I think the abatements. I think that would be good information to have. I think one of the things for me is looking at this deal and going, okay, if we want to compare apples to apples, then let's go ahead and pull up Phelan's property, Kinnear's property. Let's pull up property there that's whoever owns that long shopping center right there where Tractor Supply and all that is.
Right.
Whoever, let's pull up all of those.
Yes.
And honestly, I'll do that. I'll do that this week.
Yeah.
I'll pull up those along with that church's facility and just look and see what those comparables are. Because I mean, to be honest, I see what you're saying for a single family dwellings and stuff like that. But I mean, for us to basically go, Kinnear and Phelan and all these guys, investment properties aren't going up. Why is all this going up over here?
Right, and it's
I
not
mean,
just
it
them.
seems to be logical to me.
And it's not just them, because see, and I'm not going to say them because they're like part of your bill,
Sure.
but none whatsoever. But when you look right around them, yes,
Right.
there is. That's what I'm saying. And unless there's some sort of
So flip the page
and
there.
with-
Is there more?
with all of these, as long as it's been, I don't think they've had agreements for this long to not pay taxes, and I don't think there's.
You would be amazed at some of the
Well,
abatements that
That's
go
exactly-
on.
That's
yeah.
You
That's
would be
exactly
amazed
right.
at some of the abatements that
and,
go on.
and how are regular people getting away with not paying city taxes when they live in city limits? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
There's just too many things there that
Right.
if you're gonna do it for one, do it for all. Don't, let this businessman off
Right.
and drive this disabled person out of their home. It don't work like that. You can't do that. I mean, you've got people with 70s model mobile homes going up to $80,000 and $90,000, and there's no rhyme or reason for that.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at, and it's not about just pointing somebody out and saying
Right.
theirs is not moving at all.
right.
But if you're a member on that board, you know what's going on. You know that your stuff ain't moving. Now, if mine ain't moved in 3 years, I ain't going to volunteer that information. I'm not going to say it,
Right.
and point it out. Oh, mine's not moving. You better move it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm talking about when it hadn't done something since 2014
Right.
or a little further back when I've
Right.
got it till now.
Yeah.
Well, that's
If,
It's
if
questionable.
the board
Yeah.
wants to lower theirs, get after it. Lower mine too.
Right,
Lower
right,
hers,
right.
his, y'all's. Lower everybody's. Get
Sure.
on the board and
Yeah.
help them
Right.
instead of the way they do.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, just in closing, because I think we already exhausted
we
our extra hour. But I think we got a lot of good information out there. Is there anything you want to say in closing that maybe we hadn't touched on?
Well, I just think everybody needs to be aware and they need to get involved because your market value is just going to keep going up and up and up. And then what are you going to do when you can't afford your house anymore? I mean,
Sure.
that's for one thing. And then the next thing is you've got to look at your tax statement. Everybody that's on your tax bill and each of those tax entities, whatever school district you're in, you need to go to that board meeting.
Right.
Your county, city, whatever, you need to go to that board meeting and tell them, because just hearing it from me is not enough, because just like Commissioner Martindale told me, do you know how many people's called my office to talk to me about taxes? And I said, probably about as many as called me. You know, I was trying to be cute. And he said, 2. And I thought, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
But people like that little old lady at JCAD the other day, they're frustrated.
Right.
They don't understand it. They don't know what to do.
Right.
It's purposely confusing, and everybody you talk to gives you a different answer.
Okay.
And that's just from the state down.
Yeah.
They give you a different answer or a runaround or whatever.
Right.
And hell, you wonder if anybody even knows.
Right.
And that's why I've dug
They
in so
probably
deep
don't.
to
They
figure
probably
it out.
don't.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
it kills your soul to see these old people just broke down.
Yeah.
It's not right. It's
Yeah.
just, it's not right.
So you would say the actionable item in this process is go to your tax boards.
Yes, they need to, right now, because of the way that these values are right now and the massive amount that they are, they have got to reduce those tax rates. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, or else, there's going to be people they're not going to be able to make it.
Can it? So from what you're saying, the tax rates are in the hands of the chief.
No, they're in the hands of the taxing entities. All the chief does is do this appraisal, and then she gives all that total to the taxing entities, like the county.
So the board has to make that decision, the final decision. Like JCAD.
No,
She hands it off once she gets through with our protest, and she
Okay.
gets that total value, taxable value of her properties. She's going to go hand it to the commissioner's court for the county,
Okay.
and they're going to set their tax rate for that, for
okay.
their the budget and their tax rate. And then the city the city's going to get theirs. They're going to set their own tax rate.
Right.
The school districts are going to set their own tax rates, and they each have their own budgets, and they
Gotcha.
all control each their own
So
deals.
they need to go to the school board.
Yes.
You need to go to the
Because-
city city council. You need to go to
Yes. Because if they
commissioner
they
don't,
have their meetings
If they
at 10
don't-
o'clock in the morning on
Yeah.
a weekday when we're working.
right, that's
Sure.
the hard
She went,
part.
my wife went.
But-
Not very many people go.
The
right.
thing is, if
They
they
gotta work, like
if
you
they
said.
don't
Exactly.
Right.
if they don't do that, then that's going to tell you exactly how they put you on that totem pole. I mean, you're gonna see where you sit with the county, with the city, with the school district, special district.
Yeah.
If they cannot help their citizens
Sure.
right now when
Right.
it's dire times, then
Yeah.
They could value your house
That's-
at $10 million.
Right. Right.
And the county commissioners can set a rate where you pay $1,000 tax.
Right.
Or you pay $14,000.
I got
right
you.
now
It's
that,
all, it's in that
I got you.
range.
I got
that
you.
property
But
tax,
on the appraisals, why is it? Tell me it's coincidence. Every time they increase our homestead exemption, these taxes just blow up. As James White said it at the Cowboy Church, we give y'all a $15,000 increase in your homestead exemption. This was 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he stomped his foot around that stage and said they vaporized it.
Yeah.
I remind him of that pretty often,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
vaporized speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they're going to increase us to 40. What happened? Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again.
So
Coincidence?
any final comments?
it's going to take more than me to get something done.
I think
Y'all
that's
got
good.
to ask questions, because
Don't just
everybody interprets something different.
Sure.
Everybody understands something different,
Right.
and everybody's going to tell you something different.
take it. Yeah.
And so you have to use your best judgment. You can't be scared to ask questions.
Mhm.
You can't let them intimidate you, because They ain't God. You know, they don't know for sure either. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to call up there to JCAT and be transferred to 3 or 4 different people because they couldn't tell me the right answer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would say, well, I want to know, or I want you to explain this to me. Well, hold on. Will they give you the next person? Well, that's a problem. And that falls on the chief because she's supposed to be training them.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. There's just so many different failures there, and nobody's wanting to take accountability for it. And that's just business. That's just what you got to do.
So your message is for everybody to get involved.
Yeah. If they don't, you know, everybody's getting pissed off right now, but it's fixing to be football season in high school.
It's going to go right away.
And everybody's going to be, it's going to go away.
People's
and then
gonna
it's going
cut
to
the
be
check and keep
October.
moving. Yeah.
It's going to be October. They're going to get their tax statement, and then they're going to start crying again.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, if you don't do something about it, you know, I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
If you can't
You
go,
know, there's only so much griping I can do because, you know, they don't like me too much.
Right.
It doesn't bother me, but, you know, this is for my kids, too, because
that's right.
I want them to be able to have property one day or, you know, inherit our land one day. And at this rate, they're not going to.
Yeah.
And, you know, they need to have those tax entities up there helping these people, too. And
if
there's
you
just lots of things.
if you can't go to the meetings with her and stand there with her, so not everybody wants to say something.
Right.
But you can go. You can go and be there. You can make a
them-
phone call.
Yeah, I was supposed to say call them, email them.
You can email them. Now, I got an email response from Martindale. He sent me a nice email response. He's the only response I got, other than the county judge told my wife, she talked to him after that meeting the other day that she went to with Alicia. And
Right.
he said,
Yeah.
hey, tell Mike I got his email and
Yeah.
so on and
And
so
let me
forth.
say this about him too. I met with him just one-on-one the other day, and he does have some really good ideas because we do need some
Reform.
more. Yeah, that he, you know, they all agree that something needs to be done about these appraisals, but we do need some growth here. We do need something to bring in some revenue besides us, you know. But the way they're doing it with these appraisals, they're just driving them away. They're driving businesses away. I mean, there's people that want to put stuff in at Rayburn. Well, they ain't now. You know, they've hauled it now because they can't afford the taxes on it.
Yeah.
And they need to know that because, you know, if that lake dries up, then
We
Yeah,
could have had a
Jasper's
Toyota
Yeah.
Tundra plant here.
There's so
several years
much.
ago.
Say it again.
We could have had a Toyota Tundra plant here several years ago on Highway 62 and 11. What is that? 1142. The Evedale cutoff. 1122 cutoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were interested and they didn't want to give them no abatement. Which we got. You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen other on this abatement stuff. But if you can get them here, you can get more people working here,
Sure.
I
and
think
you can get more tax revenue.
Yeah.
But
You know,
I think we all agree on a lot of stuff.
Another company, and this is a little known, Ruger was looking at building a plant here.
Really?
And they were looking all over the place, and they were serious about Jasper. And the abatement wasn't there.
Yeah.
the sawmill in Bessie May, the people, the old Temple people, will tell you what closed that mill down.
That's where I was getting at
And it
a while
was
ago with
the
the
Commissioner's
abatement
Court
Mhm.
of Jasper.
long as-
That's what closed it.
Brookshires
I
or
believe it.
wherever's
Close that
had it,
sawmill.
why
I
not
believe it.
get
They
some
would
new
not
people
stop
coming in,
the
give them
insane
something like that
taxing, and they
instead
tried
of
the
leaving
same
these
thing
big
on the
ones just the
paper mill.
same.
Well, a
And
lot
that,
of,
you know,
but
that's
at the
what
I
same
want the paper
time,
mill to pay their taxes. I don't want them to pay.
You know,
at the
Stupid.
same
Go
time,
go broke doing so.
Exactly.
that's
Let's
one of
be
the
fair.
reasons that you've got groups like Jedco that's involved to help in that process. And I mean, not saying it's on Jedco, but I mean, they are economic development group here in the community. And I know, you know, Newton's got one, a lot of places got one. But so let's kind of close it up by saying this: people need to get involved. If you want to find out more information about Eliminate Property Tax, you can go to eliminatepropertytax.com. You can check out what Mr. Mike Hillen and Alicia Davis are doing over at Eliminate Property Tax Jasper County. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
And you can kind of keep up with the push on this thing. At the end of the day, it always boils down to not being pissed off on your couch. It always boils down to acting like, well, there's about 8 or 10 people going to go down there, and surely something will change,
Right.
or maybe something will change. Get off your butt, dust off the old church shoes.
Quit watching Netflix.
Quit watching Netflix
Yeah.
and get on down there and make your presence known. Because at the end of the day, my granddad used to say every tub's on its own bottom when it comes around this table. That basically means, in East Texas lingo, nobody's going to fix your plate for you. Pick up a plate and get to it.
Do it.
And all I can say is this: if you're going to sit in the front living room and whine about not having a plate on this tax deal,
It's your own fault.
then get ready to cut the check, is all I can tell you. But here's the thing. Here's what we know, ladies and gentlemen. These things quickly fade into the background when we have the nice fragrance and aroma of freshly cut grass and football in the air.
Boo.
All I can say is,
Damn football.
don't get caught in the trap. Don't get caught in the trap. Don't get caught in the trap.
Got more coaches out on the field than players.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you for tuning in and sticking with us for another hour. We've got interesting interviews coming up here in the next few days. Going to be down in Buena. Visiting with one of the Bright and Shining. She's quickly becoming one of my favorite people. And having said that, I want to leave you with that cliffhanger. Hey, we got Dan Miller coming up here in a couple of weeks, and if you don't know who he is, you better know, because Texas might be seceding from the Union if Dan Miller has anything to do with it. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We appreciate you. If you get a chance, go over to notonthepayroll.com. Check us out there. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube. And in the meantime, until next week, we'll see you next Thursday, 7 o'clock. See if you can find some Jesus in the process.
Love you, Vienna.
All right.